3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 10 of the SCR Podcast. We've already reached the double digits, boys. To be fair, it has
Let's
been a while
go.
since the last one, though. But yeah, double digits. How's everyone doing? Been a long while since we had this one. Before we get into anything, Dernk, Bill Boy, how have you guys been? Because we haven't actually had a chat off podcast either in a while. So, how have you guys been doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty
Been kind
good, man.
of busy IRL, but we're still hanging in there.
Yeah, what have you been up to lately, Bill?
Just a lot of May was kind of crazy for me. I had a trip that I went on. I had some stuff with my job that I've been dealing with, like some travel for work, and it's just been exhausting and haven't been haven't been doing a lot of gaming or anything, so just been busy. But Ordito says we have no sound.
No.
Really? Don't
No.
tell me this. I can see the mixers coming through.
Hello?
I can see the audio mixer actually working. Don't tell me there's no sound.
Wait, let me.
Chat. Okay, Sanji says you have
I
sound.
can hear it.
AC3 Nightmare says we have sound. Yeah, we have sound.
Ordito,
confirmed.
unmute it.
Ordito,
You
unmute.
Maybe he's just
Alright.
trolling us.
That's the
been,
beauty of a live podcast, right? We have chat giving us technical feedback.
Yeah, man, I've been doing good too. Been pretty busy with work, kid. We just went to the water park today, so my hair's a little messy from the water park. It was a good time. I don't know what racing. Done a couple races lately. Done
Yeah.
a couple time trials. Team's doing good. So it's it's a good time.
Removing the old rust.
Yeah, trying a little bit. And then simultaneously I'm realizing like how much time I have to put in to stay near the top, and I'm like, we'll see how many more events I do. I say it every time. How many times have you heard me say that I'm going to stop racing, and then I
Yeah.
still come back and do another one? But I can feel it that in at least the next year, that sounds like a long time, especially in Star Citizen racing, but at least in the next year, I think I'm gonna
Don't give up just yet.
start
We don't even have a full released game yet. Come on, man.
I want to get into an analyst booth, man. I want to start like talking it up during races and stuff. I think that'd be fun. So long term, that's what I want to do anyways.
Hell yeah. Right, so hello everyone in the chat. First of all, I see a lot of people are saying their hellos and a bunch of first-time chatters. So hello, thank you so much for coming by to the podcast live. 07s to you all. Right, so if you can see from the title up here, we're going to do something a little bit interesting today. But before we jump into that, we kind of want to go through, the usual thing that we do is basically go through everything that's happened since our last podcast. And considering it's been a while, there has been quite a few things that have happened so far. So I think the two biggest things to go through is the conclusion of the System 7 Ground Racing League, and also the first XGR Division Race of the year. So
It's been a long time.
Want to start off with the XGR Division? Because to be honest, that's the one I have stuff for prepared. So yeah. while I look for things, you guys can take it away. As Dernk is the only one from our from the three of us that's actually participated. So take it away. And I'm gonna be running a video in the background here.
Here we go. Yeah, we can talk about it a little bit. It was a ton of fun. Format-wise, anyone curious? There was first a set of there ended up being 5 heats. The winner of each heat qualified into what they called the pro main race, and then if you didn't qualify in the pro from the heats, I'm going through this fast. Then you qualified, so you got to compete in the amateur, and the top 4 in the amateur then qualified into the pro. So the pro main race was a 6-lap race. That's basically what you're trying to get into. You're trying to get through the heats or the amateur race to qualify. I managed to qualify in the very last heat, the 5th one, which is actually an extra one they put on. So thanks for rigging that for me, XGR. But you're watching in the background here. This is Splend versus Ordito. These guys were going so fast. Early on when the pro race started, I decided that I wasn't going to try to push to catch up to these guys because it was just going to be way too dangerous for me. So ahead of me on the the rack was Splend and Ordito near the front. They won one of the first 2 heats each. I mean, just look at how these guys are flying through this. And you can see Splend's like a little behind Ordito right now, I think, but he catches up quick. He's flying. And then there's Plain Fox and Zedian and myself behind them. But yeah, it was great. Flying the M50 around Yadar Valley was a ton of fun. It was well organized by XGR. They did a great job. And I managed to just I actually took 3rd place. If you're gonna see that eventually, I just kind of tried to fly it easy and stay safe, and ended up having both Splend and Plain Fox crashed out late in the race, and it ended up working in my favor. So pretty happy with that result for myself. Billboy, would you hear about it from your guys? Ordito's from the Black Star team, so I imagine you might
Yeah,
have heard
yeah. I
something
mean,
from him.
obviously he had a great race. Really cool. I mean, both him and Splen returning after a little bit of hiatus. Splen a significantly longer hiatus. I think Gordito's last race was back when they tried doing divisions about, what was that, 6 months ago when we had a bunch of server problems.
Oh, look at that overtake from Ordito. Sorry, I'm just like,
Yeah, but yeah, Splen and Ordito both back after a long time being gone, and obviously they are excited to be back because they put in a ton of work for this one. And yeah, I mean, in this footage, I think that there's, I haven't counted it, but it's at least 5 overtakes back and forth between Splen and Ordito. Some of the seems like, yeah, mastered certain parts of the track, while another one might have mastered a different part, and it seems like that ended up making for some really good racing, like we always get at Yadar, because just the way Yadar is with the low gravity, you got really precise braking points, and it's really easy to overshoot. And these guys were super fast, but yeah, a lot of back and forth, really good racing. And then we also Black Star, we had Plang Fox, who had a decent showing. He was able to get a little bit of practice in. I don't think nearly as much as Ordito or Foba. Foba he had a really good string of practice leading up. He qualified really well in the time trial. I think he was second.
yeah, he was
Second or
out there.
first, yeah. Yeah, and so he had the pace, but he always struggles a little bit with performance when it comes to race day. Like his performance in the PU during race day, for some reason, it always suffers. It seems like more than the average person, which is saying a lot because the average person usually has a rough time race day. So yeah, I think that might have hurt him a little bit. But yeah, it was a good race by Odito for sure, pulling
Yeah,
home that win for the first race, and hopefully we see a lot more of that in the future as the points keep growing, because it's gonna be I forget how many races they want to do total, but it's going to be a long
3.
series. And
3, yeah.
okay, just 3. Yeah, so I mean, it's a great start to get that win at the beginning, and yeah,
To be honest,
hopefully we keep up that exciting racing like we got here.
yeah, I kind of want to touch upon something that you mentioned that is really something that even watching this footage, you notice is like racers can qualify really good, but then they have a rough race day. Um, we say that Ordito and Splen, both of them came out of a long hiatus. Obviously, Splen having been gone through a hiatus due to an injury. If you notice, lap after lap, his lines are super consistent. They are almost identical lines, and especially on a track like Yadar, where the atmo is so thin that from one corner to another you can drift too much or not enough if you don't control it well enough. His lines are so consistent, and it's
Actually, we watched this part of the video. I think is where he makes
where
his
Splend
accident.
crashes.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
Splen tries to. You'll see he tries to push it
Because
really tight on this last turn, because
really
he's
wants
right
to
behind
catch
Ordito,
him.
and he wants to take this turn as tight as possible to get the
Yeah.
overtake, but he just
Yeah,
cooks it a little too much, and
Yep.
but just
yeah. I
finish
think
the race.
Splen. That's an uncharacteristic crash from Splen. I think this race really showcased a couple things. One of those being experience, another one of those being race styles. And like so, Plain Fox and Splen and Ordito, they're very fast, all of them. And when they're out on the track, I'm like, damn, they're probably gonna crush me, 'cause unless I put in a shitload of time to try to catch up to them there. But I think when you go faster, there's some risk involved with it. And that's what ended up happening with both Splen and Plain Fox, trying to push to get the actual win versus a focus on just like kind of surviving and just, get your points that you can collect. Like if Splen had decided on that last turn to just slow down a little bit, just be like, you know what, I'm not. Ordito's got ahead of me a little bit here. I'm not going to be able to pass him. It is what it is, and then he would have ended up with second place, right? And then that's a load of points heading into the next one.
Yep.
And unfortunately, instead, he's down. Was it sixth place?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it was
sixth place.
sixth place.
So I don't know what happened with Plain Fox because I haven't seen his POV, but I think he went down when he was coming out the bottom of heaven, which is a tough turn too. But I ended up I don't want to say it's the most deserved third place in the world because it just was because of crashes, but I pretty quickly in the event, like literally after turn one, I'm like I was close with Zedian. Him and I were really tight, but I see Ordito, Splend, and Playing Fox immediately after like turn 1 and 2. I've already gotten a ways ahead, and I get like I was doing in practice. I was doing man, what were the? I'm trying to remember where the times were. I was doing like 52s, 53s, pretty significant. Sorry, what's the word?
Consistently.
Consistently, thank you. Thanks. I was doing that in practice, like no problem. But on race day, and in the finals, I went back and and looked at my average times. And I actually in the final, in the pro race, I was up to almost a minute. And that was because I was like, I'm not gonna try to push to catch Zedian, so there's no point. So I was just trying to hold the person behind me off, which I didn't have to push that hard to do it, which I think was Neojet. I didn't have to push that hard to stay ahead just because I was doing better at the time. And then it was also at night. Things were a little bit laggy. Like coming out of heaven, there were some hiccups. So all those things considered, I slowed down a bunch and just tried to stay safe. And yeah, so I ended up with my position just by trying to stay safe and not worrying too much about having really good times. So if you're watching and you're a racer, you do have to get fairly fast, I think, to get like a podium position. I think you see stuff to be up there, but yeah, if you just focus on consistency, it's about staying alive through the whole 6 laps is the biggest deal.
I think the biggest thing to take away from that is that you don't have to have the top fastest 1 lap pace, right? You just need to be able to make a consistently fast lap time that's
Yeah.
close enough to a top qualifying time. It can even be within 5 to 10 seconds of it. But if you can do that consistently, there is a chance that you will luck out in a race, because at the end of the day, racing has a lot of luck involved, right? Somebody makes a stupid accident and crashes. I mean, look at this fight that we just saw between Splendid and Dordito. For the full race, they were neck and neck, and they were, as you said, they took the lead relatively early into the race, right? But one
Yeah.
mistake and boom, you just went from a fight to first to sixth place. So it's
Yep.
if you can just consistently say I'm fast, but I'm not the fastest, then you'll get points. And we see that happen several times throughout a bunch of exhibition races or actual races, competitive ones. I mean, happens to me as well in several events actually. I mean, including my very first win ever with Gladiator. Right, I was second fastest in the event, but the fact that I could do it cleanly and consistently, I just ended up taking the win because the person who was actually fastest uh crashed out. Right, so
Yeah. Like not to disparage Zedian,
no, not at
but
all.
I was fast. I was faster than him through the heats. I was faster than him in the time trials. Um, he was really close on me. Like I would say of anyone like in actual pace, I think it was me and then Zedian was like just a step behind me. But when the finals started, he had qualified in the fourth heat, so he ended up ahead of me to begin with. And then through turn one, he was a fast turn one, and I made the decision in that moment. I was like, I like genuinely, I think if I really pushed and the frames were good, I think I would have passed Zedian. But I made the decision pretty early. I was like, you know what, this guy's consistent. It's going to be dangerous for me to try to push. The conditions are a little bit not optimal, so I'm going to let him take that position and then hope that through my consistency, like I said, get a good position. Maybe he crashes, and so yeah, that's where it ended up.
Yep. I mean,
All right, cool.
yep. I
Sorry.
guess nothing more to nothing more to say. I mean, the race wasn't broadcasted, to be honest, so unfortunately we cannot like pick highlights from the race. It's mostly what you've seen throughout. So yeah, I mean, we saw the preview. There were some pretty intense races. Here's the results ahead. So congrats to Wardito, Zedian, and Dernk for getting the top 3 spots. Yeah, more races to come. There's 2 more. We don't have an announced date yet. However, I did kind of pry on kind of like when to expect them, and so far the thought is sometime in August for the next one, sometime in November for the last one. So uh, that's all I know. That's all the information I can give. This is on a public chat on the XGR Discord, so I'm not giving up any inside information here. So yeah, let me just jump back out here while I prepare the next thing, which we can basically jump on to talk about the System 7. Now, none of us took part in it, but we do kind of had a chat about everything. So I guess the first thing that we can say is these are the standings. These are the final standings. So Punch Nomies, which consisted of Pulsar Prime, Kirby, Gerbo the Gnome, and Shugo the Lucky One, did manage to secure their first place spot, winning the System 7. So congratulations to Punch Nomies, Amrox Fang, Delta Didus, Catcom, Blackhawks. Literally those top 5 teams alone all had a massive, massive push throughout the
No, they're all so fast.
throughout the entire event. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not discrediting everyone else, but just those top 5 teams were always so scary every time you see them going into the track. Kuroda Racing, it was just
Just to
Sanji
say
Sama on his
it was
own.
just Sanji on
Just
his own,
Sanji.
so
So being able to get into the top
yeah,
6 like that, just kudos to Sanji.
impressive.
Fantastic, fantastic job. So yeah, so one thing that shall we talk about what happened throughout System 7 whatsoever? I mean, there was a little bit of controversy and a bunch of drama happening around it. Atmo did come out and like make a formal statement. They apologized about all the decisions that were taken that might not have been um, well received from the racers themselves. I guess let's just say that. Sometimes like they I don't know. Before I say anything, what are your comments on what happened?
I mean, like, you know what I love about it is that organizers making controversial decisions is like it's almost like
Peak
part of the
racing.
identity of peak racing, right? It's like the FIA makes any decision the FIA makes, half the people are pissed about it, right? So it almost makes us feel more legitimate that people are upset about decisions that organizers are making.
Yep.
I mean, I think I guess if anyone's curious about it, basically there's a race that was too laggy during the day, and there was a bunch of things that happened that resulted in them not feeling that the competitive integrity was maintained. And so, in order to determine the positions for that race, they made it a time trial with a certain date that you could post your time trial, which is a advantage for certain teams, especially for Punch Nomies who have Herbie, who's an insane racer, and if you
Yeah.
have a chance to just time trial it, he's gonna post the best time. Like he's so
Yeah,
fast.
Herbie's just unbeatable on the ground. It's just a fact. There's no one who can beat Herbie.
Yeah, you're trying to beat him with not I don't want to say luck, but you're trying to beat him on a race day during race conditions when anything can happen, right? That's
Yeah.
when you're trying. That's how you get a chance to beat him.
That's
If
where
you're
the playing field kind of evens out.
Yeah, if you're just heads up with him in a cart going around whatever, it's like I'm sorry, I don't really know anyone that beats him heads
Yep.
up, but it is what it is. Yeah, honestly, it was a pretty cool race to watch all the events. I think Atmo did a great job with presenting it. And from their comments at the end, from what they said, they made an announcement about how it went, and I think next year's System 7 is going to be even better. I think they're going to take a lot of
Oh yeah.
the feedback to heart, and they're going to do a great job with it. So
Yeah. My personal take is I love I love System 7 as a whole, right? I've been watching them since I think their first one. I mean, I didn't watch the first one live, but I went back and watched them all just because I love any kind of racing series that I can get. But I really enjoyed the mix of tracks that they chose. So we have some in Stanton, some in Pyro. I really enjoyed the first track. Unfortunately, only 5 people ended up surviving that one, but I enjoyed it. I'll be completely honest, not a fan of the penultimate race. The what was it? Damn, it's the one where you had the island, the long stretch of water, another island, long stretch of water, and stuff like that. It was a 2 lap race. Not a big fan of it, mostly because it was difficult from a spectator's perspective to know where people are. One thing that I feel is a downside or a disadvantage of running races over long terrain is that the only people who know where they're going are the racers themselves. When you look at it from from a spectator's perspective, you just see people racing, right? You don't know, oh, look, a corner's coming up, because you don't know. But the spectator themselves can't see what's coming up, right? When you look at Snake Pit, for example, you see the layout of the track even from a top-down view, so you know what's gonna happen. You can, if you know racing, and you're like, oh shit, a wide corner's coming up. How the hell are they gonna do that? And then they do it. They're like, oh damn, wow. But when you see a mountain's coming up, and behind that mountain is another mountain, and guess what's behind that
Yeah.
mountain is another mountain. It's kind of weird, and it's tough to follow. But they did say that going forward from next year onwards, they're actually going to involve the racers into the actual track creation. So we might see um hints from what people actually enjoy racing get amalgamated into one track, and should make things more exciting. So I am looking
Yeah.
forward to how Atmo develop their stuff going forward. And they have a new ship racing competition, which we will talk about later on in this episode. Is there anything else that we can talk about? All right. Any more comments on System 7? Bilbo, you were quiet on this one, but I'm not sure if
Yeah, I
we
mean,
talked.
I'd agree with pretty much everything you guys said. And I mean, Atmo, obviously they've got they've got the name. Everyone knows who they are. They've kind of got a lot of backing from CIG. They're very capable of putting on an event that can draw a lot of numbers, which is awesome. I mean, getting more eyes on racing is always a good thing. I think that it just gets difficult as racing develops, with it being a game in development, actively changing all the time. When they're trying to keep track of all the stuff that they keep track of, it's really hard for them to keep track of what the community's been doing. And that's what it looks like they're going to try to do a little bit better this time, is kind of understanding what the community wants, what the community's doing, and what makes for good racing for the community, and actually incorporating that into what they're doing. Because yeah, it's just hard to keep track of that stuff. I mean, I'll leave. I'm right in the middle of the racing scene. I'll leave racing for a month, and all of a sudden I feel like I'm a little lost because things can change so fast. If there's an update that changes something,
Yeah.
if you're not on top of it, it's really hard to know, like, oh, well, one patch Snake Pit could be everyone's favorite track, and another patch it could be the worst track ever because of just something they changed about the Atmo model, or whatever. And so it's something that I think that, yeah, that if as they try to focus on listening to feedback from the community, and helping, using community members to put the races together, and kind of figure out what races people want to do, and what makes it more fun and better for the spectators. I think that'll be a great direction to go. And I mean, racing is just kind of getting going. And I think that us all working together between XGR, Anzia, and Atmo is what's gonna end up putting racing in a good direction long term.
Yeah,
Big
100%
agree.
And especially once CIG actually starts bringing back elements of the racing, the sports guild racing missions and stuff like that. People start actually exposing to themselves. Because I think that one of the reasons why the racing scene needed a really big push this year is because there has been that withdrawal from racing from the game. So everybody's been trying to do something different and something unique that draws the eye, right? But at the end of the day, if you don't put racing as an actual thing to do in the game, people aren't going to take it seriously enough. And what I mean by
Yeah.
that is people won't think of racing as an actual gameplay loop, because there is nothing for it in the game except the ships classified as racing. So it should get a lot more exciting once those things start coming back in. But yeah, 100% agree with everything you guys said. We should carry on because we're half an hour in. We should get into our tier list. But before we do that, I just want to make a really quick reference to the sim racing league that Ansia has been running this weekend. So between yesterday and today, there's been 3 races. Let me just set this up really quickly. Can I do that? Oh my god, I can. Holy crap. Nice.
Ooh, fast.
Right. So we have had 3 races. So the Anti-Gravity Racing League is something that's coming in the end of the month leading into July, right? And before that, we've had the Sim Racing League, which is something that Dirk himself actually helped set up originally, but is now hosted by Ansia. It is not a broadcasted event though, but I had been personally streaming my point of view just to have a Jacqueline's voice is feathering in and out. Sorry, I think my microphone needs to be really close to my mouth. So yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Right, so the Sim Racing League is basically a semi-competitive series where there's going to be a bunch of races throughout the year that generally fall under a class that Ansia runs, right? So the Grav Bikes has Aster, Physar, and Icarus, which basically is the combat race, which is Aster, Physar is the amateur league, and Icarus is the pro league. And then there's all the Acrux classes. So Acrux, AX2, AX3 Open, blah, 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 blah. All of those races will happen, and then there will be a final scoring at the end of the year, right? So we're now into the Grav section that's happened this weekend. So we had the Aster class, which is the combat series. Very, very fun. It was so much fun. If you've never tried Grav racing before and just want to do something fun, Aster class is definitely something that you should try. It's basically the X1 Force versus the base Pulse. They are so beautifully balanced. So you have the Pulse is so tiny, so really tough to hit, but at the same time, the Gatling has so much spread that just fire randomly in front of you when you hit something. Whereas the X1 is the complete opposite. It only has a single gun, so it's really tough to hit anything, especially considering how tiny the frames of the vehicles are. But it has a shield, and it's like double the health of the Pulse. So really tough to take down. So it's a nice balance between the two. And at the moment, there's a bug in Arena Command. Well, actually, not in Arena Commander. There's a bug with the Grav Bikes that if you hit them and any kind of damage, just a small speck hits you, you just drop your speed. So there's just constant overtakes happening on the track as people just spray and pray everywhere. People are getting hit randomly. Everyone's slowing down. People are overtaking like crazy. It was madness. It was so much fun.
That's awesome. I gotta go back and watch your VOD then. That sounds like it was a ton of fun. I
Yeah,
didn't
to
get a
be
chance
completely
catch
honest,
it.
I kind of got bamboozled a lot because I was running in the X1 Force, and the X1 has the gun that's just under the nose and extends outwards. So in my brain, I was running kind of racing lines, and some of the racing lines have you kind of like really getting close to the rocks, but the gun kind of just clips against the rock and it just kind of throws you up or just straight up blows you up. So I had 3 crashes just because I made stupid mistakes and I got thrown off. I think I ended up 5th in Aster.
Jelly won this one, right?
Yes, Jelly came first. Jelly, I think,
Nice.
was the only one who never had a single accident. So as in like no crashes. So I think
Sounds
Jelly
about right.
won. I believe from last place. So yeah, from 10th place here, you could see on the screen here. Jelly won from 10th place. I believe 2nd place was just Moki. I forgot who came 3rd and 4th. I came 5th, and yeah, I don't remember the full lineup. But yeah, that was Aster.
Let's go Sanguis Luna, taking the dub.
Yeah. After that was the Physar, which happened in my time, 4 a.m. local time. So I definitely wasn't there. But this was a stacked grid. There's 14 racers.
Yeah.
So this was between Dragonflies, Baze X1s, and Hover Quads. There was a bunch of people here and a lot of people who had never touched racing before. So it was really, really nice seeing people getting involved. And obviously, Physar having the amateur racing tag on it, I guess it's attracted a lot more people, right? So you got to see a lot of new people getting involved in it. And from the feedback that I saw on Ansia's Discord, they really enjoyed it and kind of like lured them into they got the bug basically, right? They just want to do this more. So awesome stuff to see. I do not have a results page for them. They were not posted. So all I have is the starting grid and the people who actually took part. So if you're watching this at some point, drop it down in the comments below. If you're watching on YouTube, on how your experience went, we really want to know. Because we just love seeing new people joining racing, right? And just share your experiences. We'd love to hear that. Then, sorry, I'm talking a lot. I'm just kind of powering through this so we can go, right?
Let's get through these. Yeah.
Let's just get through this. And then we had the Icarus Pro Racing, which is basically the sweaty lobby, right? So we had
you won this one too.
I won this one, and I won this one the same way that we were talking, right? I mean, Herbie was scaring the absolute crap out of me. So so I started in P4 technically because checked league kind of overslept, poor guy. And so he ended up missing. So we were 9 racers throughout. But yeah, at the very start, there were the 3 guys in front of me all had an accident at the start. So I basically got an early lead, but the guys behind me also had an accident except Herbie. So by the 7th or 8th checkpoint, it was basically me and Herbie was just like 200 meters behind me at this point. But he did make an accident. He did have an accident or a crash at the very last checkpoint before start finish. So I crossed the line and his lap got invalidated because obviously he crashed. So it just ended up being a full lap behind. But to be completely honest, the lap times that Herbie was making was absolutely scary. So
I was looking
absolute
at it. He
madman.
was like 5 seconds faster than you a lap.
Yeah, I mean, after I saw so many people crashing to rocks, I was just going as wide as I possibly can. I'm like, I'll take risks where I know the terrain conditions, but there were some areas where it's like it was very desync dependence, right? So I was like, the
Yeah.
places I know that I can take risks, I'll take risks. The places it's 50-50, don't risk it. So I was doing about 318 laps, whereas Herbie was doing 316 laps. I had a couple of slow laps because there was one point where I tried to go on an overtake, but the guy in front of me was weaving a bit, and we did collide, slowed me down, blah blah blah. But yeah, I was the only one in this race that did not crash. So that's a really big factor about why I ended up coming with the win. It's exactly what we talked about before. If you can just do a fast
GGs.
enough time and just
Yeah.
don't take unnecessary risks, chances are you'll end up with a good result. And in this case, it actually gave me the win. But Herbie coming in second place started at last. Dead last started Herbie, and he came in second place. So absolute props to him. Not to discredit whatsoever, but I just want to point this out. There is it's pretty well known in the ground racing scene that that if you cap your frames to 49 FPS, you get a boost in wheel grip on the ground vehicles. And Herbie himself discovered that this also actually affects the graph bikes. It is a known bug. It's been known for a while, but CIG have said that it is something that they are aware of and are actively fixing, but it probably won't be fixed until a rework happens on the grav and wheeled vehicles. So just be aware that if you're ever next to someone in a ground vehicle or a grav bike and they're just so much faster, chances are they're
Could be
either
why, yeah.
their frames are capped or they're just naturally around the 49 FPS, right? Because if you're at that range, you just have so much better grip. And again, not to discredit Herbie, but he was capping, which allowed him to keep those times consistent, right? But at the end of the day, you still gotta know what you're doing to get those times to begin with. So still massive props to Herbie. Again, don't want to just pointing it out. It's my
Feel good.
responsibility to share this stuff.
Didn't
Alright,
they
boys.
have a rule that everyone had to be capped at 30? Or
That
what
is
was
for
that?
AGRL. For Anti-Gravity Racing
Mm.
League, everyone will have to be capped at 30 frames per second just to even it out. The reason it's 30 is
Yeah.
because, not everyone has a good PC, so sometimes even 30 is hard to reach. So 30 FPS is low enough that everyone can reach it, right? So
Everyone turn on your VSync.
no, actually turn off your VSync. Yeah,
Oh,
the
really?
frame cap in the game doesn't work if you have VSync on.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so turn off VSync and just frame cap in the game.
Love it. Love it.
All right.
All right.
So I'm gonna go to this while I set things up. Do you guys have any comments to say on SRL or anything at all? Like grav racing, AGRL coming up, stuff like that? Well, AGRL we'll talk about later.
Do you
I
got
just thought
anything,
I thought that the combat version of the race was really interesting. Usually combat racing kind of has, I don't know, kind of a weird gray area where usually it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't work.
Phil?
It sounds
You're
cool
just
in
racing
concept, and it
anyways,
just,
yeah.
yeah, you're just racing and going fast is usually the best strategy. But it sounded really cool with this event where when you would shoot somebody, it would just slow them down. It wouldn't necessarily. I mean, obviously you could destroy them eventually, which is such a weird mechanic that just happens to exist. But sounds like it just made such an interesting dynamic for, like, if you're behind somebody and you have a good shot at them, you can kind of try to mess them up going around a turn by slowing them down and then blow by them, and just a lot of it sounds like it definitely made for a lot of back and forth, which or potential for back and forth if people were actually able to hit anyone. But
I wish we had that ship
it'd be-
racing. I wish
that's
that
what I was gonna
distortion weapons worked that way.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is it'd be interesting if something kind of along those lines could be like you lose, like thruster power gets limited or something
Yeah.
as you take damage to the something like that. But yeah, thought that was
That'd
an
make combat
interesting.
racing actually interesting.
Yeah,
Mind
exactly.
you, turreted combat racing that they had at Scarlet Apex last year was pretty cool because that was like
But that was full on
you actually
combat,
did end
not
up in
distortion.
gunfights.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was full on combat.
Gotta
It was
say
fun.
though, it really ended up like there was one moment during the combat race that I was coming up. I think it was a back marker at that time, or just there was a pulse in front of me and I was catching up because the pulse and the X1 has the X1 is just like 4 meters per second top speed faster than the pulse. and I guess I was just taking better turns. But I was catching up to this pulse in front of me, and knowing the advantage the pulse has on open fire, I did not want to overtake at the straight, so I ended up weaving left and right just so I could like extend my lines and stay behind the spalls. I waited behind them throughout the whole straight just so they can't get a shot on me and slow me down. Then we came up to a chicane part where I said, okay, if I can manage to get a nice exit out of this while they're still going through it, I should have enough distance that I can steer clear of any fire. So I waited for the perfect moment. I took my line exactly so I can go through the chicane as super quick as I could, and ended up getting the exit and steering clear of any fire coming from the pulse, right? Because they have to turn, they have to choose, do shoot me or take the turn, right? So I it was just those nice strategy things that just makes this combat race. You know, do you want to shoot people or do you want to play strategy? Do you want to do a bit mix of both? It's just so many different ways that you can go about this race. It was really really cool. It wasn't just
Yeah,
about
that's
go
cool, man.
fast, you know.
I love it.
All right, shall we get to the tier list? The moment everyone's been waiting for. Okay, so
Yeah, it's
quick
gonna be
disclaimer.
controversial. Everyone's gonna call us idiots.
Oh yeah, man. No. All right, so racing ship tier list time. So, quick disclaimer: as you can see from here, we don't have every ship in the game listed, right? What we're focusing on is the ships that are actually considered racing ships by official CIG standards, and also a couple of honorable mentions that the community enjoys. So you can already see them on the screen right now. There's, spoiler warning, but yeah, this is going to be a relatively short tier list, but I still imagine we're going to spend like half an hour talking about all of these things. So let's get started with the magnificent 350R. So we're going to start off with Dirk. Dirk, where would you put the 350R and why?
350R. I want to put it high B, low A. So I'm gonna say high, like on the top of B. I guess it depends later on where it looks, but that's where I'd put it. I think it is an underrated, fun ship to fly. I think because it's so fat and a little bit slower, it makes the racing a little bit more interesting when you're hull to hull racing with 350R. If this was a pure question about which ships I enjoy racing against others of the same, like on their own, I actually might put 350R straight up in S tier. But as like when you're talking overall racing, just because it's a little bit too slow, but I got to put it high B, and depending on what ends up in B, I could put it on the low end of A tier.
All right. But that is purely on feel. What are your metrics here? So basically, what I like, if you want to go through metrics, I have a list right now open in front of me of the ANSIA ship testing group. They have a sheet.
Yeah.
They basically every patch they go out and test all the ships on track. So at the
Yeah,
moment,
I mean, I've raced it a lot, so it's that's based on how much fun it is to race it, like in a 350R race, which I put 350R races I put in like S tier. I think they're so much fun to race other 350Rs. Not everyone agrees, but I bring it down because it is not competitive near the top, and there are certain tracks that it just can't fly that well because it just can't like turn through stuff that well. But I'd put it at like the top of B tier for that reason.
yep. Bill Boy, your thoughts? Let's put it there for now.
Yeah, I kind of tend to agree with Dirk that I mean, yeah, I think it's pretty fun to fly in the right situations. Very fun to race because it's a little larger, which actually can make just the visual aspect of the race more interesting. But yeah, it definitely isn't one of the fastest ships right now. Just the way that it's tuned. I think one of the things that always disappoints me the most about it in its current state is that it's slower than the non-racing versions of the 350 or the 300 series, which is just
Yeah.
really frustrating that that's
I
the
think
case.
in this patch they're actually all identical.
That's what it said.
Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Well,
You
yes, they're
said
all
it's slower.
identical, but the 350R is slower because it's heavier
Oh
for
yeah,
some
it's
reason.
80
The
tons.
350R has
Yeah.
worse acceleration. It has a worse
Yeah,
acceleration than the other ships. So in
Um,
practice, it ends up slower. It's pretty
Fair
bad.
enough, yeah.
So that'll probably get fixed. I mean, that'll definitely get fixed eventually, which that's
Has to
always
be.
Yeah.
Has
disappointing
to be.
about it right now. But
Yeah,
you know,
the racing
I've
variant
always
of our chassis is the heaviest. We didn't strip out any of the stuff inside of
yeah.
it. And we made it like what?
But yeah,
Yeah.
so I think B is a safe spot for I mean, it's also the first ship we're putting on here, so obviously we might end up realizing we like something better than the other. But yeah, I mean, it seems like it's a
Yeah.
pretty middle of the road ship. It's not one of the super slow racing ships that just are kind of in a sad state.
Yep.
But it's not one of those super fast ones either. And I think it's fairly fun to fly. So I think he's pretty safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
think
could see it actually sneaking into A, looking at the ships now, but we'll get there. We might move things around.
Yeah, to be honest, that's what I was gonna say. I think I'd probably sneak it up into A, or like you guys said, high B, or just like a low A, just because it's fast. It feels like you're flying a racing ship when you're flying it, right? I think from all of them this year, the 350R from the Crux Cup division, it was the AX2, right? So I think it
Yep.
was exclusively the AX2, right? It wasn't even in the same league as the Peregrine, right?
Yeah, the Peregrine was
I
always
think
cool.
was there another option? I can't remember, but everyone ended up flying the 350R.
Yeah.
Actually, why don't we I say throw it into A, and then we'll any other A tiers get in front of
Yeah.
it, because I'm looking at
'Cause
these.
yeah, that's why I was gonna say, right?
I'm fine
Because
with that.
I think like from the not the absolute fastest, the 350R I think ends up taking the best of the rest kind of category, right? Because
Yeah, I think
it's
so.
fast, it's heavy, yes, it's super heavy, but it's fast, it handles well, it has a really good fuel tank. So like if once fuel actually becomes a thing, I think it's probably has the best fuel tank from all the racing ships on this list. So there's a lot of perks
Yeah.
that come with the 350R. The problem with it is the fact that it's so heavy that taking turns in it is really difficult. If they're wide turns, that's no problem. But sharp turns like 180 hairpins, you need to change the way you fly the ship, at least with the current flight model, right? When flight control services come in, that's definitely going to change things. But I think at the way it stands, I would personally probably put it at A tier. I kind of want to send this out to the chat that's on Twitch right now. If you guys have any opinions on where you think the 350R would go, please by all means write your opinion in the chat. But me personally, I would give it probably an A tier, but we currently have two Bs, so we'll let majority rule with B for now. We can adjust
No,
it
let's go
later
A.
on.
I said A. I said
Okay.
let's move it up.
Yeah, let's go for that for now.
All
Yeah.
right. You see how convincing I can be, guys. All right.
Well, if there's another A tier, it probably goes in front of the 350R, but with that in
We'll
mind.
see. We'll see. Tell them to take the champagne out and the kitchen. Yep, 100% agree. We don't need a kitchen
Yeah.
for a racing ship. All right. So now the saddest moment of the entire evening is probably coming up. Now, the
Uh-oh.
Fury LX.
Oh,
Oh,
people are gonna be so mad at this take.
where
I
do we
know so
start
many
with the
like
Fury LX?
non-racers that are gonna be so mad at this take. D
Yeah,
D
it's
tier.
terrible.
Yeah.
I hate this ship. I love this ship, but I hate what they've done to it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't think that there's any kind of competition to this. I think for a racing ship, hell for any ship is just
Yeah.
there's nothing the Fury offers with the current tunings, right? It has the slowest SCM speed of any of the racing ships. I believe even the base Fury has a faster speed than the Fury LX. So
Yeah. Like that we talk about the egg flight model that they have, right?
Yep.
Not maybe some people in here aren't familiar, but imagine there's an egg in front of your ship, and that's how your thrust vectors work. Anyways, that's the simplest explanation. Of all the ships, the Fury LX, if they just turned that back into a sphere, it would be a great ship. Because the problem is right now, it doesn't grip arrow, it doesn't go that fast. It like you have to stop in a turn if you want to take a turn. You literally cannot take it at speed. It's actually in a place now where I think it's a great camera ship again, especially if you use the nav bug
Yeah.
on it. I don't know if that's still in game, but when it was,
For
that
now,
made it
4.2 it gets
cool.
fixed. Yeah. So one.
But like it could be so good. It could be my favorite actually.
All right, so let's clear something out really quick, okay? So one of the main reasons why the Fury LX is such in a bad state right now, it's because it is a snub ship. And snub ship do
Yeah.
not come with a quantum drive, which means that they do not have access to nav mode, and therefore no access to nav speeds. Now the tuning on the Fury LX it is limited to 249 meters per second unboosted. It can go up to 587 when it is boosted, but even under boost, it doesn't it can't compete, right? Because the amount of time that you spend in that boosted speed is not enough to be competitive whatsoever. Even the other snubs on this list are faster unboosted. So
Yeah.
There's really nothing that the Fury LX can compete with right now. It's if you want to
Oh,
raise the Fury
yeah.
LX, it's Fury LX versus Fury LX. It can't compete with anything.
For anyone who doesn't know this about snubs, basically, because the way you're stuck, if you start boosting, as soon as you let go of the boost, when you're ahead of their SCM speed, there's no maneuvering. It locks your vector. You can't even change which direction you're going. So like even in a vacuum, someone in chat mentioned like 0G, which I think maybe we should talk about too when we're doing these. But I still
yeah,
put
that's true.
350R where it is in a vacuum in
Mhm.
0G. Even in 0G, because of that factor, the Fury LX, you'll be like going at a turn and you're trying to boost, but then by the time you hit the turn, if you run out of boost because you're just not paying attention, you just get vector locked. You just crash into the wall. It sucks. It's like,
To be
Yeah,
fair,
and that's
they
just the
did
issue with
tweak
every
that a bit.
single
So
snub is.
sorry, I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say that it's not a full vector lock anymore. So that was a big issue. It's not a full vector lock. You still get slight maneuvering, but it is very draggy. So like you don't have the full maneuvering capabilities. It still technically locks your vector, but it allows you just those slight movements, right? But yeah, go ahead, Bobo. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say that, yeah, with needing to boost to actually get those that maneuvering at higher speeds, it just makes all the snubs feel like you just want to be boosting all the time, because as soon as you're not boosting, you
Yeah.
just feel like you're waiting for boost. And boost on the other ships has a, it when you're at those points where you're not boosting, you're kind of planning for those moments where you're like, okay, this is a good time not to boost. I can not boost here and not lose too much time. But the snubs, it doesn't really work that way. You just lose so much to not boosting in the snubs that there's not really like a lot of good, like, oh, this is a safe place not to boost. I'll still be able to keep some decent speed going, and that's not really
Yeah.
the case, because it just pulls you down to such a slow speed that you just can't fly. You have to fly the ship differently when it's it's just going so slow without boost that you're just yeah. There's no more. You're not. I don't even know how to describe it, but it just feels horrible. It just
Yeah,
feels
it feels
horrible.
horrible.
It's just
disgusting. Yeah, it's
all the snubs
terrible.
have the same problem. As soon as you start running out of the boost, you just like
Yeah.
feel icky. Sucks.
But the problem is that we'll get to it when we get to them. But the other snubs, at least on one lap, feel good. The Fury LX
Yeah,
doesn't
because
even
you
feel
can
good on
you can
one
boost the
lap.
whole time.
Yeah,
You can
the
boost the
Fury
entire
LX doesn't even
laps,
feel good
so
on
then
one
they feel
lap.
okay.
I guess
It's
maybe
such a
to be
terrible
fair, I
spot.
haven't taken the Fury LX to Snake Pit, but
Yeah, Snake Pit
I
is the
bet you
only
it's not
place where it's
bad.
fun, but it's still like 10 seconds
Yeah,
slower than everything else.
and only one lap too.
One
You're
lap,
not doing
yeah,
multi laps. Yeah,
that's it, one lap.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
next one.
I think 100% agreed. Fury LX, unfortunately, in the D tier.
Is there? Can we just put it in F?
We should just
if
put
there's
it
more
a tier,
ships.
Fury LX tier.
Yeah, Fury, just call D tier Fury LX tier.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I'm gonna put any ship down there with it.
Um,
Actually, looking at it.
Maybe,
Oh, actually, there's
maybe
one
there's
other.
one.
We'll get
There's
there.
one.
There's
Yeah.
one I
Yeah.
might. There's one I might.
There's
Yeah.
one that I know. Actually, there's two that I think I'd put in there. But anyways, we'll keep going.
We'll see. Yeah. All right. So the next one, the Origin M50. I don't
S.
think
S.
that's as S as it can get, man. The M50 is
Oh,
just
so good.
the pinnacle of top end racing.
0G, Atmo, thin Atmo. The only track that it's not a ton of fun to fly on is Snake Pit, and that. But even then, it still was pretty good there. I still you can still get to the 35-second marks on it. So.
Oh hell yeah.
I think just to play devil's advocate a bit, I feel like the one issue that I have right now with the M50 is that ever since we've kind of discovered that its aero model is extremely bugged,
It's so broken.
being able to flying that ship at its absolute peak limit is just the most unintuitive thing ever. It's
100%.
like it's kind of up there with back when the Fury LX had the bug where you could like look through that little tiny window in the top and fly it sideways to like tricord to go over top speed. So it's like trying to learn the line that you need to do time trials in that ship is it doubles or maybe even triples the amount of time you have to put in, because it flies unlike any other ship. Like, I mean, if you go and watch like any of the top old Vanderbilt time trials, everyone's down pitching through the turns because you gain speed when you down pitch instead of
It's crazy.
lose speed. And then if you during Crux Cup, if you do like a weird tricord strafe thing, you can go above its top speed by going sideways instead of forward, which is
there's a bunch of bugs. Sorry, go ahead.
Actually, I think that bug exists. I think the strafe bug technically exists in every model, but only a few ships take
It doesn't
advantage of it,
affect it. I,
and the M50 is the main one that can't take advantage of it. But I think what's causing that bug exists in all ships. It's just the M50 has the special amount of arrow and
It
flight,
can
I guess,
manipulate
that
its arrow
it
the
does it.
best out of all the other ships, so
Because
you
the
can
350R has
definitely.
the same problem.
Yep.
yeah, yeah, but it's just it's just a weird bug that that makes it a little like if you want since it is the fastest ship, if you fly that way, it makes it just a daunting task to try and go after a top time. You have
If
to just
anyone wants to
learn
see what the problem with it is, go to SCR, go to Old Vanderval, and look at the Ordito's top time, and you'll
Yeah.
immediately go, "Oh, okay."
Right. So
yeah.
does Ordito make use of the yaw bug though in that top time?
I don't think he does. I think he
No,
just does
I
the
think
pitch
it's just
down.
down
No,
pitch.
it's illegal. The yaw bug's illegal on SCR.
That's
They'll
true.
Yeah.
kick
They did
your
make it
time
illegal.
I'm
off
gonna
if you
be
do it.
completely honest. The yaw bug is just a terrible thing that we have to deal with right now. I mean, it is agreed in the community that nobody uses it. Times are invalidated if you're caught using it. But the down pitch kind of feels natural in the M50. It's unnatural that down pitching is faster than pitching up, but it doesn't feel unnatural that the M50 can do it, especially given its form factor as well, right? Generally, ships that have wings pointed to the front. Now, I'm no aerodynamics engineer, but generally, ships that have wings pointed to the front are better um, at manipulating aero downwards, right? As far as I'm aware, if there's any aero engineer watching this right now, feel free to correct me. I am no engineer, but from the few bit of research that I had done when I first saw the M50, I was like, is there any really aero advantage from the wings pointing forwards? Apparently, I don't think it's just they dive better. It's just they can manipulate aero for maneuverability better, pointing at the front. On the flip side of that, they shouldn't be able to accelerate at the same rate that the M50 does. So the
Or
M50 is just better in every way. But I do feel
Yeah.
like bugs aside, one of the biggest things about the M50 is the fact that it hates rolling, right? So it makes it into that kind of like top tier ship, because if you really want to be a top tier pilot in the M50, you really need to learn how to tame it, and you can easily
Yeah.
tell the difference between a pilot that has a seat time in the M50 versus a pilot who's just trying it. It's to me it's the pinnacle of a racing ship in Star Citizen, right?
Yeah.
Because
It's like trying to drive an F1 car or something. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
the average person would be absolutely terrible at driving an F1 car if they just jumped into it. They need a ton of practice and they need to know all the quirks of it and what you have to do through turns to not whatever's just spin out
If
instantly. And that's
if
kind of how
anyone's
the M50.
unaware, yeah, if anyone's unaware about the rolling mechanics of the M50, because you will spin out and it loves to buck on you. If you keep your TVI below the crosshair at all times, which is the velocity indicator below crosshair, it will not buck on you and it'll stay stable. But that's a skill to learn to hold it down there the whole time, and it's about using your strafes and everything to fix it.
Yep. I have a
Yeah,
video
so
on that too, actually, on my channel. So
it's absolutely the highest risk, highest reward, highest skill ceiling ship out there because it is it is a handful to fly, but if you can do it right, it is
the most
amazing.
rewarding one.
S
So
tier.
100
S tier.
like by all means, the M50 is the most rewarding ship to learn how to fly. Like I love the
Guys,
Razor coming up. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the
Yeah.
Razor. Even the look of it, it's like the most F1 looking ship you can get. But
Yeah.
the M50 is so much more rewarding when you get a handle on it. So
We're
definitely
gonna,
S tier.
we're gonna talk about this ship for the next hour.
Yeah, we are. I love the M50. Sorry, I'm also an Origin fanboy, so to me, the fact that my favorite ship happens to be Origin as well, there is some bias in there.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the Mustang Gamma.
B tier. I'm putting it
B.
B tier.
You're putting it at B.
Actually,
Okay.
I actually like this ship.
Nice. Let's go.
I think it's a decently fun ship to fly. It just doesn't get the love that it deserves, I think, from CIG. It's not very fast. I've put it in a similar vein of the 350R, except the disadvantage that I have the Gamma below the 350R is that you can't rub tips with the Mustang. If you do anything and it break a wing off, the thing's dead immediately. Versus the 350R, you can rub ship,
Oh, yeah.
and you'll
You
survive.
can lose the top part of the spoiler in the 350R and still fly normally.
Yeah, but the Gamma it doesn't have the survivability, doesn't have the speed. It has a few bugs that happen with things like the fuel scoop. if when fuel matters, it's harder to actually figure out how much fuel you need, things like that. But I actually like how this thing flies, and I like the feel of it, so I would put it at B tier. But I think you guys are gonna put it at C.
Can I just make
Yeah, I don't
one
agree at all. I
remark?
think it's terrible.
Can I make one remark? This tier
Yeah.
list is based on 4.1.1 performance. Okay, we can revisit this in future patches. 4.1.1 performance. The gamma. Whoops, my camera's hello. Okay, 4.1.1 performance. The gamma still has a terrible boost tank. So if you're in nav mode with the gamma and you boost, you have like a 2.5 minutes to recharge it back up to 100%. That is unacceptable for a ship that's supposed to be classified as racing. I mean, I feel you when you say I like how it flies. I really do. I even like you get so much visibility in the cockpit. It's fantastic. I love the look of the gamma. It's a bit too bulky and looks really outdated as a model, but there's a charm to that. You know, like I like it, especially with the new Murray Cup paint on it. It looks fantastic. I'm not gonna lie. The Murray Cup paint on the gamma, beautiful. But the fact that it's such a short burst and then slows down for 2.5 minutes. Short burst. Me personally, I'd even kind of like contest D tier here, but I think just to be a little bit generous to it, I'd put it at C. But honestly, for me, the gamma kind of contests D tier above the Fury LX, but still contests D tier for me.
Yeah,
okay.
I would tend to agree. I think it's C at best. It's just the boost tank makes it so slow, and without boost, that thing only goes what like in a lore like a full atmo like Loreville, it goes like 250, 225, something
So
ridiculously
nav
slow.
speed unboosted in Crusader atmosphere along the tunnels of the Ahomahi ring, it gets up to 327 top speed without boost. When it boosts, it goes up to 406.
That's actually better than I thought it was, but honestly, it just feels so slow.
Just the reference,
And
the M50 has 378 unboosted and 487 boosted, so that's a massive difference in speed.
Fast.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
okay.
it's one of those ships that just if you're going too fast entering a turn, it just kind of goes straight. It kind of just like I don't know. It has like just that weird sort of like I don't even know how to describe it. Just that weird sort of aerodynamic stall that happens if you try if you try to pitch up, it kind of fights you pitching up.
Yep.
If you're going too fast, which I think can be good on some ships, but it just doesn't feel good on this one. Because I think forcing people to have to brake into a turn could be an interesting mechanic for making racing a little more interesting. But this ship it doesn't feel very good.
I'll concede low C. No
So we're being generous to the gamma and we're giving it a C.
I think C's. Yeah,
I
C's
think
fine.
C is C. I mean, it's definitely better than the Fury. I mean, I would take a gamma over a Fury any day of the week, especially the way it is now. I mean, looks wise, I love the Fury, but
I just got some ships that I would definitely put in D tier, and I don't think we load them up too much. Like when I'm trying, like what other ships even fit in C. So anyways,
I mean, to be completely honest, some honorable mentions in here, and by honorable mentions, I mean like non-racing ships that we use for racing are still better than the gamma.
Yeah, like fast, like as far as how fast they are, and also just how fun they are. They're just actually as actual racing ships, they're just better and more competitive.
Yep,
which is amazing. That's how they were tuned.
Yeah, we'll get to CIG's baby at one point here, and then
All right.
So
next one, the P72. Oh, sorry. Did you want to say something else?
Oh no, I was just asking. Is that the P72 or the P52?
That's the P72. It's got the
Are you sure you have those models right? Oh, it is the tips.
I'm sure. Yep. The tips at the top are the P72.
I always think as the 72 is darker because I have the Arkham or the
emerald skin. Yeah. No, the
yeah.
P52 has this little notch on the nose, where the Gatling gun goes, whereas the P72 has the crooked tips, make it more aerodynamic. Right. So P72. B tier. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think
it's got the disadvantage of being a snub, which kind of sucks right now. But it is still fun to fly.
It's super easy to fly too.
It's very smooth. It's like one of the smoothest flying ships of all. When it was the meta, I actually really enjoyed that meta for time trials because
pre-master modes, right? Pre-master modes,
Yeah.
it was the meta in Thin Atmo,
It
right?
had a patch. Had one patch. It was the meta on every track
But
actually,
it was
and that was
it
great.
was ridiculous.
Yeah, it
It
was
was
so
Yeah,
absolutely
it
insane.
was.
the arrow on it
Yeah.
was just unmatched. It just bites everything. You never even needed verts whatsoever. You just pitch and it just
Yeah, it was great.
Mhm.
Just forward boost. I honestly, it was fun. It was like flying on rails. I kind of liked it.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean,
And it
between
still has that same aero. I think it still has that same aero model. It's just now that it's a snub,
Yeah.
it's just too slow to get that same effect it used to.
I'll be completely
Yeah.
honest. I mean, we'll get to the P52 later, but it's actually slightly worse than the P52. Even
A
though
little bit.
the stats on it are better, right? So the P72
Mhm.
has a top speed unboosted at 299 meters per second, and when you boost, it goes up to 507. Yeah, 507. So it's still got really great stats, and to be completely honest, like for a top speed nav, it's one of the highest, if not the highest, of all the ships. So when you get to the top speed boosted, the P72 is technically the fastest ship in the game.
The 52 has a faster nav boost, but it's not by much. It has a
Yeah.
slower nav unboosted. But
Wait,
anyways,
does it actually?
Yeah.
Does the P52 actually have a better boosted speed too?
better boosted, but a worse
Yeah.
unboosted speed.
Okay. All right.
Kind
Yeah.
of weird.
There's a reason for that actually. But yeah, the P72, excluding the P52 as it's not technically an official racing ship, even though CIG have recently actually called it out for racing, in their referral reward.
Oh really?
Yeah, and their referral rewards for during Invictus, the P52 was the bonus
They
ship
called it
that
a
you
racer?
get, and they called it a racing ship.
Huh. That's
Yeah.
all of the community when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Because it's
like,
not designated as such. We just use it.
funnily enough, people use the P72 in combat more than racing, and people use the P52 for racing more than
Yeah.
combat. So, like,
Yeah.
either swap their roles or something, or just figure it out
Or
before you give
fix
them.
them. For
Yeah,
fix them.
yeah. Um,
Okay.
but
Next.
yeah, technically,
good?
if it wasn't locked behind that snub, it would probably be S tier because it handles really well,
Yeah.
and it just looks super sexy. I mean, the, just the folded tips of the wings, just to me, makes it look
Oh yeah.
so good.
Beautiful.
Beautiful ship. Anyways, next one. This one has a lot of love in the community.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of mixed feelings toward this though at the same time. So
Yeah.
a lot of people love it, but there's quite a few vocal people who hate it. So what are your
Bill Boy,
guys'
do you want
thoughts
to start?
before I say anything? Yeah, Bill Boy, go
Yeah,
ahead.
Bill Boy, start this one.
Me start. I like the ship. I mean, it's too bad that it's as kind of slow as it is. Doesn't just not it's just not competitive with some of the more top tier racers. I wish that they kind of balanced it in line with the 350R. Because I think that I think those are a good matchup. They're both kind of larger racing ships that are, they're like variants of a normal ship that they've turned into a racing ship. I think it works really well to make them both competitive, and they're just not. It feels good to fly, which I think is super weird because it feels a lot like a Gladius to fly, which feels amazing. One of the just best ships based on just pure just feel as far as just tuning around and just flight and atmosphere. But it doesn't have like an aero model whatsoever, which I find very strange that it feels like the Gladius, because the Gladius has an excellent aero model. But for some reason it feels similar. I guess it's just the way that the way that the thrusters and Mavs respond or something. But yeah, for me, I really like the ship. I think it's fun to just tune around. But as an actual racing ship, I'm not a massive fan of it. I take it out to go hooning or just like low flying around on planets because it's really fun. But for actually racing it, I not a massive fan, honestly. I think it's like a solid either top of B tier or lower A tier, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was top of B as well with this. Ditto pretty much everything you said. Said everything I could think of. Just kind of sucks and turns is the biggest deal.
Yeah.
So a couple of our members, Sanguis Luna team members, used it during Crux Cup events. And it just like, I don't know. There's some interesting things about it, but it doesn't have like there's a fair bit of depth. I think if you were to ask like I think it was Jelly and Liquid that did it, and if you ask either of them how they feel about it, they'd probably feel more positively because they did a lot of racing in it and they probably got used to its quirks. But top of B tier, I think, just ahead of the 72 for
All right.
Yeah,
Let's
and I
listen to
think
everyone.
from a pure pace standpoint, it's slower than the P72, I think, right? But it's
Top speed,
In a single
like
lap,
Probably-
boosted, yes.
well, I mean like around a lap, like on like an average
Yeah.
jack.
Yeah.
But it's probably still faster than the Gamma, I would assume.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
everything except the Fury is faster than the Gamma.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Jacko? What do you think of the Peregrine?
I mean, I would give it high B, low A. I love the Peregrine. I love the look of it. I love the sound. The sound of the engine is so
Sounds good. That helps a lot.
I think one
Oh,
of the
it's a
downsides of
gorgeous
it
chip too.
is yeah, as Bill Boy mentioned, it doesn't feel like they put any effort in the aero. It feels like they focused so much on the mains, right? Its mains are giga powerful. In 0G, the Peregrine controls like a dream. So I would personally push this up to A just because in 0G it really shines. In my personal opinion, I think the Peregrine is probably the second best
That's
ship
true.
in 0G. I mean, we haven't really been considering 0G for these last 3 ships, but my personal opinion is the Peregrine gets bumped up to A just because of it's so powerful in 0G.
Yeah.
On the
I'm fine
downside,
with that. I'm between A and B.
yeah,
I
on
could
the
put it up for 8 just based on 0G performance. Because you're right. I like of all these ships, I think the only ships that are actually fun in 0G is the Peregrine and the M50.
mhm.
Gladius is pretty good in
Um,
0G too.
Gladius, yeah. But yeah, just for 0G, I'd definitely bottom of A tier for me.
I think if they bumped up the top speed on this ship by like 25 or 50 meters a second across the board, boosted, unboosted, it'd probably easily be like close to top of A. I think it's just a little
Yeah,
slow
it'd be
too,
reaching
which is
for S, I think.
To be completely honest, I don't even think top speed is its problem. I mean, it is. If you were to compare it, like if we were to bump it up to A and compare the Peregrine to the 350R, the 350R has way better top speed. So on a straight, the 350R will beat out the Peregrine. But the fact that the Peregrine doesn't grip when you pitch, you have to drift. So the Peregrine is probably the best ship to drift around in, just because those mains are so good that as soon as you kind of yaw into the turn and push with the mains, it just immediately reacts. It's
Yeah.
so good. So in thin atmo and then 0G, fantastic ship choice. In full atmo though, it's just so weighty. It's huge. It's wide, so it's very easy to collide with other people. There's a lot of downsides to it, but it has really nice perks, except for the top speed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If it could be faster, like if it could be like faster than the M50 and 0G, and it could be the 0G meta, would be sweet. I think that'd be a great place for things to sit.
yeah. I'd agree with lower A though. If you want to bump it up, I'm fine with that.
hell yeah, Peregrine love, let's go. I love that chip. So there's gonna be a bit of bias, but I think the where my bias is coming from a good place.
It's a cool ship for sure. It's definitely one of my favorites aesthetically and
Yeah.
just it's fun to just fly around when you're not actually racing. It's a great hooning ship. Oh
All
boy.
right.
There we go.
Last
Here we
but not
go.
least from the racing. By the way, these have been in alphabetical order, right? So there hasn't just alphabetical order racing ships, and now we're gonna go to alphabetical order honorable mentions. So last one in the racing category, the Mirai Razor. I mean, I mean, I'd
Yeah,
say it's,
hey,
hey,
actually,
okay.
ahead.
Let's fight this.
I think
Let's fight
ahead.
this.
I'd put it ahead of the M50 as well. I like it better.
I
Okay,
think, where do you,
let's
Jack,
talk
you
about
want
this.
below?
Let's talk about this. Okay, go ahead. State your case, or shall I state my case? Because it seems to
You
be like
start.
I'm
You
in the
start. You start this
minority.
one.
All right. So
Yeah.
personally, I love the Razor. Okay, let's just put it out there. I absolutely love it. Love the look of it. It has an amazing paint selection. CIG, please give me a harvest paint on the M50. It's the only Origin ship that does not have a black
Yeah,
and
look at
orange
that.
paint.
Wait.
Please give
We
me
have it
that
on
orange
ours?
paint on the M50. All right.
Oh, we don't have
So
it on ours.
now that that's said and done, Razor, fantastic ship. It handles like an absolute dream. It is without a doubt an S tier ship, without a doubt. It handles beautifully. It controls amazing. Anytime that you want to do something with the Razor, it'll obey. It's the most smoothest ship to fly. But because of that, in my personal opinion, having flown the Razor around the Homahi and the M50 around the Homahi ring, the M50 just keeps you more awake. Like with the Razor, I can literally take a nap. It's just it doesn't fight you at all, and that's a good thing. It's a really good
Yes,
thing.
I love
Hence why
that.
it's an S tier. But the M50 is just so much more rewarding. like when you do a really good lap with the M50 and a really good lap with the Razor, it feels like, okay, I learned the track. But with the M50, it's okay, I learned the ship. You know, it just so much more reward from a good M50 lap versus a good Razor lap. That's
Go
my
spend
personal opinion.
Go spend 30 minutes racing the M50 on Snake Pit, and then
Yeah,
spend
okay,
30
there's
minutes racing
one
the Razor on
track where
Snake
it's
Pit,
a
and then
nightmare.
come back and talk
One
to
track.
Yadar Valley. Go do the same thing at
No,
Yadar
Yadar Valley
Valley.
and the M50 is probably way more reactive than the Razor. The Razor gives you a smoother experience, but the M50 you can push it a bit harder.
Yeah.
Is Jacko trying to say that
I
all the
got
bugs on the
put it
M50 make it a better ship? No,
off.
no,
Yes, he is.
no.
That's kind of what you're
He is.
saying.
No, it's
You
not.
said
I
because
was
it's
saying
broken and
during
it
the
bucks
M50,
in it, and
during the
the
M50 part,
negative.
I said that the yaw bug excluded because nobody in the racing community does it. We've all agreed we will not use that. So
quote
exclude that.
quote jacket in. I prefer bugs in Star Citizen.
God damn it. No, don't do this to me, man.
So I kind of see where you're coming from. Honestly, I think the M50 back when it first got its tuning pass that made it the meta chip for time trialing and stuff. That was back what like
Yeah.
323.
right when
Oh, that's the
323
start
yeah
of Master
three
Modes?
the first Master Modes rendition with the
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 50 was
323
scary.
M50. That was one of my
Yeah.
favorite ships, honestly.
Up until that point, the poor M50 was like completely left on the floor.
It
Just
was, yeah. But
Mhm.
the first patch with master modes in it, the M50, when it became the meta ship in that patch, that was one of my favorite ships to fly of any patch. It was very difficult. It was when they first implemented that whole like sort of F1 style, like you have to go faster to get the arrow. And the M50 was one of the only ships that did that.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. The Razor now does that as well. Not quite the same degree as the M50, but yeah, I absolutely loved the difficulty of the M50 to fly back in that patch. But for me, at least, I think that some of the quirkiness of it now, I think it's just become like almost a little too unruly to fly. Where it's just you get punished so hard for such small mistakes. And obviously
Yeah.
at the very, very highest level, if you're putting in dozens of hours on a track to get good at the M50, it is satisfying once you get to that point. But it's just so difficult to get to that point that really only like at a lot of races, only one or two pilots might actually have put that work in to get to that point. So I think it can hurt racing to some degree because you end up with, instead of ending up with 10 pilots all within maybe 2 or 3 seconds of lap pace, you end up with like one or two pilots who are 5 seconds lap faster than everyone, and then everyone else is just
Yeah.
trying to hang on. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like, obviously, it is fun when you do put that work in, but it can also not be fun when you didn't put that work in because it is so hard to fly without
Yeah.
figuring out all its quirks.
I do think
If
it is
the
healthy because you said
Razor,
it's unhealthy for the racing community. I kind of disagree with that. I like that there is a high skill, high risk, high reward, and high skill ceiling ship to master. Because if the Razor's performance is the peak of what a racing ship feels like, I feel that can get boring really quickly. Again, I
Yeah, I'd agree with that as
absolutely
well.
love the Razor, but the M50 keeps you on your toes the whole time. And you know,
I'd rather
you don't
race other
see
people in a
someone
Razor
in a
though.
Formula One car driving with one hand, right? Excluding George Russell maybe at one point. But you don't see people in the Formula One car, you know, just kind of resting back and driving with one hand because the car is constantly fighting you. And that's what it feels to be at a top level, right? So the M50
And
Yeah.
is that kind of like Formula One level car where it's constantly
Well,
fighting
I
you.
think I think if the Razor, I'd say the Razor's the F1 car, and I'd say the M50 is like Class B rally.
Okay.
Like that's how I'd look at it, or that's how I feel about it. Don't get me wrong, love the M50, but I think because of the unruliness, I mean, you look at Splen's crash at Division Racing in the M50. If they're in the Razor and he doesn't have to think as hard about like flying it right, I mean, who knows? But um, I I think if I'm picking a ship to go head-to-head racing at Icebreaker, wherever, I mean, I get Icebreaker and Lorville's, they're different because they're so easy. You just fly the M50 anyways. But if I had to pick a ship to go head-to-head, I think I'd rather race in the Razor, where I'd more focused on the racecraft than I am on just not dying. Whereas the M50, you have to spend almost the entire time focusing on not dying.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a valid point. Yeah, personally, I think I do agree with you, Jacko, that it being like the pinnacle of racing ships and it not being easy for just anyone to sit in the pilot seat and be competitive. I think that there's a happy medium somewhere in there where,
Yeah.
maybe the Razor on some tracks, like Icebreaker and the Razor, is just so piss easy that you just don't have to
It's so
think at all.
It's
Yep.
boring. Yeah, I'll admit I'll agree to that. But like Snake Pit in the Razor, right?
Is
I know
amazing.
it's like
Is
the one
Snake
track,
Pit,
excellent. Yeah.
right?
100% agreed.
Snake Pit and the
So-
Razor, when we were practicing for, the
Division,
Snake Pit division race that never was, it took a lot of skill to figure out exactly the speeds you need to be at to make some of those turns at full throttle without, losing aero, because that was the big worry on that track, was that you would lose aero and you would drift into the
Yeah.
woods and blah blah blah. That's just there's way too much going on with the M50 to even be considering that kind of. It's just there's
You'd
so
never
many
have a
other
close
things
race
you have to
like
think
that,
about.
yeah.
Nobody would ever all figure that out, at least consistently, and you'd end up with a lot more catastrophic mistakes. In a long 6-lap race or something.
If we had good
Um,
performance for that division race, we could have had 8 pilots all moving in together, crossing the
Oh, yeah.
line within a millisecond of each other in the Razor. It
Right,
was so
right.
good.
When we were
But that
practicing it all
said-
together, like the race had crappy performance, right? But when we were all practicing together, it was some of the best racing that we've done.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
unofficial racing, but it
excellent.
was some of the best racing
And
we've ever
anyone
done
could
together.
win. That's the other
Yeah,
thing, right? Like literally
Mhm.
any of us who were at the top, there wasn't like such a significant difference at the top and the next few pilots down, which you tend to see with the M50, like Billboy talked about.
Yeah. But
think-
yeah, personally, I would put the Razor just above the M50 in my opinion. But
Should we ask chat?
I
The
think-
chat's
yeah,
the
so-
I think
tiebreaker.
that's chat.
Chat, give us a tiebreaker here. Although I have to make this comment right now. Okay, so again, this is a tier list for 4.1.1 performance, and I think objectively, the M50 is better than the Razor right now. Yes, it could be because the down pitch is buggy. If you want to consider it a bug, if it is a bug, I don't know if it's a bug or if it's a manipulation of aero, but the M50 is objectively better than the Razor right now. In fact, aside from the P52, the M50 is the only ship that you see on time trials, right? So I think objectively, M50 is better than the Razor. I'm just speaking objective here.
Oh my
not
God,
not
the
like
chat's tied
not
up so
perfect. Yeah,
far.
the chat's tied up. The chat's 50-50 on the Razor. But like if I were to pull up SCR right now and I would
Yeah,
just
I
look
mean-
at the ships that are being used in this patch, you mostly see
But that's-
M50, and I think there's a reason for that, right?
But not
Yeah,
that long ago, the only ship you would have seen there is P52, and if I did a tier list at that
I
point,
would
I
have put that at like
P52 at
B.
B. Yeah,
not
I
like
would
in,
not
in
have,
that
though.
era.
I mean, you have to keep in mind that like what it feels like versus what it actually is a different take, right? Because again,
Yeah.
4.2, they might fix both. They didn't, but let's say 4.2.1, they fix the yaw bug and maybe they tune the
Mhm.
down pitch. Because I don't believe the down pitch is necessarily a bug. I think it's just bad aero tuning. I think there's
guess-
a
I
difference
guess-
between bad aero tuning and a bug. The yaw is definitely a bug, but I don't think down pitching is a bug necessarily. The
So I guess-
M50 feels like it should be able to do that. Sorry. Go
For
ahead.
me, the question for me then is, if the M50 was like an average of 2 seconds a lap slower than the Razor on every track, and the Razor was one of the top time trialing ships, would the M50 still be S tier right behind the Razor, or would it being such a difficult ship to fly but doesn't reward you with the best times in the game, would that drop it down to like A or something for people?
It depends on how it compares to everything else, right? Because this
Right.
is like all of these ships put together, this is what they would look like. And I would personally think at the moment in 4.1.1, the M50 is probably at the top, like just over the Razor. And I literally
Yeah.
mean just over the Razor. Again, I love the Razor. It is a fantastic ship to fly. And in my personal opinion, if you want to get into a top tier ship after you've learned the ropes, the Razor is the one you should jump into, not the M50. But
You know what? I'll give
once you
it
wanna
to you. The Razor just
chime-
below the M50.
Yeah. I mean, I'm speaking objectively here, okay? Bias aside, objective.
Is it
the M50
objective? I think
As
it's all,
of 4.1.1,
this is all subjective.
At 4.1.1, objectively, the M50 is in a better spot than the Razor. Speed-wise. Speed-wise. Not feel-wise, speed-wise.
For time trials, yeah. It's,
Well,
Even
they're
in
even
race
so
pace, even
close
in race.
speed wise. They're like what? They're 10 meters a second difference
But
on
the M50 can
boost,
take
but they're the
turns way better than
same.
the Razor.
They're the
does.
same
That's where the
unboosted.
M50 beats out the Razor. Because top speeds,
Yeah.
they're almost identical. If you put them both in a straight line, they can keep up with
They're
each
so
other with no problem.
close.
But the M50 has such better aero bite, or whatever you want to call it, grip. It takes turns so much tighter than the Razor does.
I just
So-
realized we don't have the Razor LX on this list.
Yeah, and I was actually going to make a remark. I only picked the base Razor here is because the tuning between the three is very, very, very similar. Except the Razor LX is just worse. It's just a worse
Just
version of the
slower.
base Razor. Yeah, it's
It's
just
worse in every way.
every way you can look at it. The Razor LX is just the worst version of the Razor. So I just put the base
If-
Razor in here because it's just the best version of the Razor that there is.
If they gave the LX a 10 to 15 meter per second boost overall compared to the Razor, it might actually top the whole list.
It will be situational because the Razor LX is meant to be a dragster. So it's meant to have faster top
Is
speed.
it?
So basically, put it this way: the Razor LX is the Razor with a flight blade.
Well, the description of the LX seems like it's, I don't know.
It's a
Anyways,
dragster.
I know
The
what you're talking
description
about.
of the LX is a dragster. It's fast straight line
Is it?
speed, but lowered maneuverability.
Oh,
It's basically the
Okay.
Razor with a flight blade.
yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Well,
Do you
I'm
guys?
happy with.
concede.
I'm happy with
I'll
them picking just
concede.
above it, though,
I'll concede.
You'll concede. I win again.
Concede.
yeah.
Jackson's he's good
All
at
right.
convincing on
Yeah,
these.
I mean, again, I have bias, but I'm also good at keeping an objective point. Okay. Anyways, on to the honorable mentions.
Whatever you say.
Whatever you say. To the honorable mentions, starting off again alphabetically with the 85X. Now, before you start crapping on this thing, the reason why it's on this list to begin with, it's historically a beloved chip in XGR, but this was like 2-3 years ago when it was amazing. Like it was probably the fastest ship at the time.
There's one guy I knew that knows how to fly this ship. His name is Shaq New, and I don't know anyone else that actually figured out how to fly this damn ship.
To be fair,
Me and Playing Fox had to figure it out
We-
for one. Yeah. Anyway, it was that thing's a mess.
yeah, we did have to fly this on Icebreaker last year at the CitizenCon race, and it was tough to fly. Let's say that. I mean, personally, okay, the 85X, not as a racing ship, as a shuttle ship, it's one of my favorite ships. Like if I want to go
Taking
from
people
one
around the
place
track
to
actually
another,
in the
I
85X
actually
kinda
love
cool.
it. As
Yeah.
a racing ship, it's just slow. The only issue with it, it's slow. I don't think there's anything wrong with its tuning. I
Does
think
it-
it
does it
flies okay.
Does it not do a backflip when you pitch up with it anymore?
It used to.
Does it
No,
still
it
do
doesn't.
that?
Doesn't
It
anymore.
doesn't anymore.
my
Okay.
God.
No,
Okay.
that was a huge issue.
Yeah,
Let's
that
hear
was
the
the
Origin
large issue.
fanboy make his case for the 85X. My only case to it, it feels
I don't even
nice.
think it looks good.
It feels
doesn't even
nice
look
to
that
fly.
good.
It doesn't look that great. No, I have to say it doesn't look that great. It's got a
Looks
really
whack.
weird profile.
Whack playlist. Can we have
It-
whack playlist as the
it-
bottom tier here?
All right, so let's just jump into it. Right, I still think it's better than the Fury LX.
I think it's
I
largely
genuinely
the-
think it's still better than the Fury LX, and actually stats wise, it's even better than the Gamma. I just have to put it out there.
I'd put it below the Fury LX.
I think I'd put it low C.
All right.
I think
Oh
the
my God, people
Fury.
think it's
Well,
better than the
yeah.
I'll be
Gamma.
honest, it is
Oh,
better
my
than the
Gamma.
Gamma. I would actually put it
Everyone
better
thinks
than
it's
the
better
Gamma.
than the
It's probably
Gamma.
faster
Oh
than
my
Gamma,
God, my
The
Gamma.
Gamma's pretty rough.
Over for the Gamma.
Even if you just look at stats, the 85X is better than the Gamma.
You know what? I just wanna say that I disagree with this placement, but I think everyone else is gonna kill me. Otherwise, we can put it ahead of the Gamma and C tier. Just ahead of the Gamma and C tier.
It's
I'm
just
fine with that, yeah.
unfortunately the Gamma is just in a bad spot. I do
It's
think that
pretty
the 85X, if you were to race the 85X against the Gamma, the 85X might actually be better.
All right, let's move on.
But this is just based off of stats and feel because it is slow, but I still
Yeah.
think it'll be better than the Gamma just because the Gamma without a boost tank is just a sitting duck, right? And the 85X it had the issue as well, but it's fixed. So as of 4.1.1, I will keep iterating this thing, right?
Dude, is the Fury LX gonna be alone in D tier by the end of this?
I think there's one ship in here that can go in there
Yeah,
with it.
There's
It's
one
chance
ship I
for
put
that.
in there. There's one ship I put in there.
All right, the Arrow. What are we looking at?
B?
I
E.
think it's here.
It's a solid B. I mean, do we have to go deep into it? It maneuvers well. It's not that fast, but it's like a decently fun ship to fly. It's good in zero
Has no aero
G.
model.
Yeah.
That's its downside
Good,
is
it's
top
fun to
speed.
low fly.
Genuinely,
really
its
fun
to low
downside is
fly.
top speed. I think its Arrow is okay. It
Yeah.
doesn't pitch as well as it should for the shape that it has.
It's pretty.
It's pretty.
It
It's
is pretty.
small. It's so much fun to get close
Yeah.
racing with because it's so small. You're not risking collisions.
It looks really swag when you're doing flips next to
It's
someone else in it.
since it's a fighter, it doesn't have interceptor tuning, so
Yep.
it does have good maneuverability just from its mavs. Yeah, it's a fun one to fly, but I think there's a more fighter to fly, but it's good. I think
All right,
these are
This next one's gonna
this
cause
next
some
one-
controversy.
Well, because has nothing to do with like performance speed wise, but I actually put A tier. This is like the trainer shift.
I
This is
personally
the
would put the
Aurora.
Aurora in a low A tier. It's
Yeah.
the perfect introduction for racing ship. There's no better ship that you can introduce anyone into racing than the Aurora. It has the Razor's tuning, just not its speed.
I've been doing like coaching with a number of new racers lately, and I always throw them in the Aurora first, and every single time they go, "Wow, I thought racing really sucked. I couldn't figure this out, but now you threw me in the Aurora, you told me what to do, and all of a sudden I figured out how to fly, and then I put him in the Razor within a week, and then
Yep.
he can fly the Razor." It's like,
You
Yeah.
can literally skip this entire list if you just start off with the Aurora. It's just that good of a ship. It's amazing. It's not that bad in terms of speed. I mean, it's not the best. It's like
it's
25, 30 seconds slower than the rest over a lap. Depends on the track,
That
I
probably
guess.
makes you comfortable though if you're newer. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as far as the understand, it is just
close, yeah.
the most comfortable ship you could possibly fly as a new racer, and also learn good habits. Because a lot of ships that people are taking out to try and learn racing, they're just going to learn horrible habits if they're not racing something that forces you to roll and pitch. And yeah, I think it's definitely a high B, low A.
Give me fold out
Yeah.
wings on the Aurora, and it's S tier for sure. 100% agree. Those
Yeah,
those
totally.
wings should just come out and look like an ornithopter from Dune, and that's it. That's
Right?
a
That'd be
winner
so
for me.
sick. But yeah, it's you know what, close racing with the Aurora is a ton of fun. Racing other people in the Aurora is a ton of fun because it's just slow enough that you can actually pay attention to what's going on around you, and you don't, you know what I mean? It's great.
Yeah,
I think I
I
love
don't
this
think
shit.
there's any case against the Aurora except it just needs more speed. We need an Aurora RC, right? There's like 8 variants
Yeah.
of the Aurora.
Oh yeah.
And again,
Please.
I chose the MR
Take off
because
the guns, make it fast.
yeah, exactly. That's all you need, and fold out the wings.
If it was real life, someone would have already torn
yeah.
off the guns. They would have strapped a Herald engine onto the front of it, and they would have been on the back of it. They would have been bombing around in this thing. Yeah, it's great
Yeah,
shit.
100%. Yeah, we have like 6 variants
Yeah.
of the Aurora. They all have the exact same identical tuning. That's why I only picked one. So pick whichever one you want, really. But yeah, we need an
Yeah.
Aurora RC. Add that other variant. Remove the guns. Remove the cargo bays. Remove the sleeping chamber if you need to. Lower the weight.
Yeah.
Increase the top speed, and just keep it within its racing tuning. Right? You won't screw up any fighter balance or anything. Just if the Aurora stays exactly as it is, just with better top speed. Gold. Amazing ship.
I honestly, I could see
Yeah.
them doing something like that once they do a pass on the Aurora to make it not.
Dude, give it to the next intern.
ancient.
Next intern, be like, hey, make an Aurora RC, please. Would it take them like 3 weeks?
I think
Like,
they could update the Aurora to be gold standard, and then along with it make a racing version so they actually make some money off of it too.
Dude,
'cause
I'd buy
obviously they don't
5.
Yeah.
I'd
Aurora
buy-
RC, make it happen, CIG.
Yeah.
If CIG, if you're watching, Yogi, you're watching. I don't know who watches these, but like the DJ Bunting, I know you guys are in the racing areas. Like, please,
Yeah.
I'd do it. I'd buy so many.
And
that would be like the #1 race prize for the next 10 years.
Yeah, it'll be the best pledge to give away.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Next one, Gladius. We're coming close to the end here. Gladius. Now this one's weird. I kind of want to give it a high B, to be honest, or
I
like
want to give it a high A.
I want to give it a top of A.
I want to put it at the top of A.
Either top of A or right behind the 350R. I think for me.
Look, call me biased. I run the Gladi Yadar showdown every year, where it's Gladius is racing at Yadar. Don't get me wrong, but this is CIG's baby. It's got of all the ships, I actually think this has the best flight model. I'd put it ahead of 350R. Actually,
It just flies so well, and it sounds so good, and it's just so much fun. I love flying it in. If you just go on like AC online mode and just fly the Gladius on every track, it's fun. There's very, very few tracks that it's like maybe Icebreaker gets a little boring because it's kind of slow, but it's like Yadar, it's amazing. Snake Pit, it's amazing. It's just you can drift it if you want to. You can roll pitch turn if you want to. It's kind of larger, so it looks. If you're racing someone else in one, you got a lot of visibility of them. And it makes it tougher to make an overtake. I just think I've had some great experiences racing it, just because it just feels great and it's just a lot of fun.
Would you
So
pick
why don't you
this
want
over
top of
the
A, back it
Peregrine?
in? Yeah.
Yes. It sounds
Is
better,
it
it
just
maneuvers better, and it's just a little bit slower.
yeah? This
I'd pick it over the
speed
350R.
wise, you'd pick it over the 350R as well.
I'd rather race the Gladius than the 350R.
That's close for me.
Yeah, I think it's between the 350R and the Peregrine. I don't think I would pick this over a 300 series.
Well,
I
just
think
have it be known. I put it top of A.
I think that for me, I guess talking in the current flight model, yeah, I think it's very close. The 350R, I just like the idea of so much. Like
Yeah.
I want that ship to be, in an amazing state at some point. But in the current flight model, I think that it's very close for me between the 300 and the Gladius. But
I would very
I'd
much
go
like
either
to
way.
see a race between a 300 series and a Gladius, and see
Are they
what
close on
happens.
speed?
I don't think they're close.
350Rs,
I think
371 and 4.
I think the 350R is a lot faster, but the Gladius is
Gladius.
just so much fun to fly.
350R has a
Where's the-
477 top speed in Crusader. The Gladius, has a 371. It's literally 100
it's-
meters
Oh
per second
my
slower. Yeah,
God,
it's not
it's
even
so slow.
close. That's why I asked if
Yeah.
you would pick this over the Peregrine, because the speed
still
is
would pick it
the
over.
disadvantage. That's why, like, would you even pick this over an Aurora? Because I personally would
Yeah.
prefer to race an Aurora than a Gladius.
I
Personally,
would rather race a
Well-
Gladius than Aurora.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about just what to race, maybe I'd pick the Aurora, but I would still, in a ranking, I'd put it ahead. I'd put it where you have it now. Personally, that's where I'd set it.
Yeah, I would never pick the Gladius over a 350R. Personally, I would pick the Saber over the Gladius just because the Saber is a racing ship. I mean, I understand that the flight tuning of the Gladius is better than the Peregrine, but the trade-off is that the Peregrine's main engines are just so good that you'll still beat out the Gladius, right? The Gladius is just that much slower because it's a fighter. It has that.
Also, I
disadvantage.
think personally, the Gladius is just the best ship to fly around Yadar by a lot. I
Yeah.
don't think there's
Oh, yeah.
anything that's
I
100%,
think
better.
I think it's the reliability of the Gladius too.
Mhm.
Is that
Yeah.
I know we're only talking about this patch, but I think you have to at least reference past patches, and no matter what patch it is, the Gladius is always the best ship to fly. To be
consistently
honest,
safe.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I think it deserves its spot where it is. I mean, the speed is its detriment. So there's a kind of like a wonky thing happening. Like if you look at speed, the P-72 is faster than most of the ships above it. It's just the downside of it is the fact that it's a snub, right? But then in A tier, we have the Gladius and the Aurora, mostly because of the accessibility aspect of them, that they're just so good. It's hard to pass on,
Yeah.
There's nothing else to say about that. Their only downside is the speed. Everything else is just top tier.
All right. Let's get to the. Is this the one that you guys put in D tier?
I would put
No,
this just above the Fury.
This one hurts so much. It hurts so much. I
The
love this
Herald,
ship
the
so much.
Herald, the fastest in a
in-
straight line was not anymore.
Was.
Can't even give that anymore.
That was the most painful thing that CIG's ever done to me, is turning the Herald when it literally, the patch before they did what they did to it in its current state. The patch right before, it would go like 900 meters a second
Yeah,
in the
it was
low
insane.
atmosphere, and now it
That's
goes
awesome.
like 350.
470.
Okay, so it's not that slow,
Yeah.
but it's still not
The
fast
problem
enough because it doesn't
is
turn well enough
Yeah.
to do anything. Yeah.
straight line, 470 in a straight line. The second you try to
Yep.
turn, it takes you about an hour and a half. It does not turn whatsoever. This thing is just
No.
it's just straight line, and there's nothing else you
Yeah.
can do. So it's just
Yeah.
it's just faster than the Fury. That's the
Yeah,
only thing it has.
it's really sad. I really hope that one day it comes back and becomes the Ahumahi ring like meta
again?
ship, because man, that was
Yeah,
cool
that'd be
that you had to fly that at Crux Cup, because it was just a whole different experience flying that thing around, because it handles so poorly, but since Ahumahi is such a big wide open track, it works just fine, and
Mhm.
it was just all about precision with your TDI.
It was the only
and
ship that made
moving
Ahumahi ring like a ton of fun to fly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, I still love Ahumahi ring, but it was the most fun to fly around Ahumahi before everything killed it.
yeah, I think now that I think about it, I just moved it below the Fury, because I think I would still prefer to take the Fury out on a track than the Herald, just because the Herald is
Yep.
just so impossible
Yeah, I'd agree.
difficult to do turns with. Honestly, it's
Yeah.
on this list because historically, the Herald
Yeah.
has been just so amazingly fast. And Tint, if you're watching, I know this is your favorite ship, so I'm sorry it's at the very bottom of this list, but I think you would agree as well if you're watching.
Let's add a
That's
Herald
just-
tier.
Let's add a Herald
add
here.
it.
I mean, we have to give it a mention. I mean, it's supposed to be super fast in a straight line, but unfortunately, it's fast in a straight line, but it used
Not
to
any
be
faster
like,
than anything else.
yeah,
Like, there's a
As
lot of
Billboy
fast
said,
machines out there.
before it was unmatched in a straight line. Not fast, it was
Yeah.
unmatched. Nothing could be faster than it in a straight line. Except Fresh, I guess.
Yep.
But clearly.
Fresh
The
on
Oracle
foot.
clock.
Yeah, Fresh on
Fresh
Morbid
on
and a
foot.
P52 beating out the Heralds. But that wasn't even based on top speed. That was just based on just better cornering, right?
Yep. All right.
Yep.
Shall we move on?
Next one, the Intrepid. I'll be completely honest. It's on this ship because it's on this list because when this ship got released, everyone was like, let's just say, saying how good this ship is to fly. It feels really good. I
Singing its
personally haven't
praises.
even flown the Intrepid. I don't like how it looks personally, and I never really got the interest in jumping in to try it out. But everyone I've talked to about the Intrepid said it flies amazingly. Stats wise on it, really good. Handles really well, got a good turn rate, got really decent speed. I think overall it's really, really good. I just can't recommend it or not recommend it because I don't have that personal experience. So I'm relying on
think
you
it's
guys to
somewhere-
give me that touch.
I think it's somewhere in B, maybe just below I think definitely probably below the P72 because
I think because of the snubs, I put it ahead. I think because of it being
yeah,
this.
the P72 is
yeah.
still quite fast even though it's a snub.
Yeah, but I just don't like just the snub. The snub slowdown. I think is just such a
Yeah,
huge
it just
like
feels yeah.
hurt on it that I would put it just top of B tier.
Top
Jellyhead
just
made said that in
just
chat.
over
Top of B tier and
top B
yeah.
But yeah, it feels
personally. Yeah.
great. Yeah, it feels great to fly though. It is it's very very easy, very drifty, and very responsive. I
If
feel
you
like
want a starter ship to take on racetracks, grab the Intrepid.
I feel like it handles a lot like the Peregrine, but just a little less power
More
because
more
it's
grippy.
not an actual racing ship. Yeah, but it's got
It
kind
has
of
a little more grip.
it's kind of just like a baby Peregrine as far as the way you fly it, where you kind of drift it around and has good decent power, push you out of turns. It's fun.
Yep.
All right.
Cool.
Interesting. Yeah, I need to give the Intrepid a try, to be honest, because I kind of want to see if I were to ever recommend it over the Aurora, to be honest, because considering the amount of good things that I have heard about the Intrepid, I wonder if it's actually a better recommendation than the Aurora. However, the
I
Aurora
think it's too
is
big.
the cheapest. Yeah, the Aurora is also the cheapest entry point into Star Citizen, right? So if somebody wants to get in, if you have the Aurora, you already have a leg into the game and into the racing scene. So it's the best.
I
of
think
both worlds.
for beginners. I think the Intrepid's a little too big, and you wouldn't be able to teach them how to roll pitch turn because it's too wide. Like you'd bang into stuff a lot. I think it's great for drifting around turns, but you wouldn't want to roll pitch turn in it because you're gonna hit stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty fat.
All right. Now for the weird one. Where
I
do
hate
we
this
put
ship.
the P52? I hate this ship with a
I-
passion.
Yeah,
I want this ship to get deleted, but it is
don't throw it in S.
no. I don't want to throw it in
No,
S,
no.
but I don't feel like I
Um,
should throw it anywhere below A because
Dude, I gotta put it
honestly,
in C.
C. No,
that's a little
Look,
aggressive.
I was reminded how much I hated the ship the other day because I was teaching someone how to race, and they're trying to like get in the top 5 time on the snake pit, and I was like, oh, okay, and I just told them I was like, you just have to push more and stuff, and then I was like, here, I'll show you, and then I went to snake pit in the P52, haven't done that in so long, and I was like 20 minutes in, I was like, fuck this, I'm never doing this ever again. I was like, I
I
don't
think
care.
that it's pretty tough to put it much higher or much lower than the P70. It sucks to fly a lot more than the P70, but it's all fast in the P72.
yeah.
Yeah,
To
maybe
be
but I
fair,
feel like
it
it's
does
a,
grip better than the P72. The P72
It
has
does,
a lot
yeah.
more draggy turns, whereas the P52 is insanely snappy. And it's super responsive,
But-
but you zero yawing capabilities. The second you start to
top
yaw, it's
of
gone.
top of B tier. Yeah, if you yaw, it actually destroys the ship. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I have to take my feet off my pedals completely because I have yaw down there.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would personally. I don't think it belong.
I think
deserves
bottom
to
of
go-
A.
Yeah, I don't think it should go anywhere lower than A because at the end of the day, it is the fastest ship. Over one lap, it's the fastest
Yeah,
ship.
I just
I mean,
hate this.
Yeah.
and even over 3 laps, if you were to take this in Arena Commander and try to sweat on the RSI leaderboards, the P52 will get you to that top spot. Because even over 3
Yeah.
laps, the P52 is just the fastest ship. It has
Yep.
such good acceleration, like the best acceleration out of any ship in the game. The P52 is objectively the fastest ship. So the only downside to it is that it's a snub. Everything about it is just really good. It feels like this is what a ship of this size should handle like. Under boost. The second you let go of boost, all of that goes out the window.
I have to laugh at the best time trialers always. They're like, the P-52 is so great. I love this ship. You guys are haters. Or Dino and Jelly in chat. It's like, look, guys, you guys are the crazy ones who love doing time trials.
But we
It's
have
like
to
you
cater
guys
those
in
too. We have to
fresh.
cater them.
I
into this
know.
list.
I hate this thing. I
don't
hate
think this
flying
thing deserves to go below A. I mean, the only reason
No,
it's
it has
not
to be an A.
S, it's
It has to be
because
at
it's a
least A.
snub. The only reason it's not S is because it's a snub.
Yeah, I mean, it's before the. It used to be. It was the meta ship for probably longer than any ship's ever been the meta ship, and back when it was
I
the
think
meta,
that's my biggest issue with it.
it was pretty ridiculous. It was insanely fast. It was definitely the best ship by a long shot. But we never raced it because everyone hated it.
Yeah,
there was never we
100%.
like
I
just
hate that it's
no
been.
one would
I
ever
think it's
host
been at the
races.
top for so long too
It's
that
been
it
a
just
year
makes
now.
it worse.
It's been
More. No,
yeah, it's
Jacko.
more than a year. Yeah, it's been more than a year
Longer
that
than that.
it's been the meta ship, and
There-
I hate it. I
If
hate the
if I
fact.
could, if I could put a timeline on the meta on which ships were the best ship to like the fastest ship on any given track, the most of the timeline is P-52 with gaps of other ships that take it over at points in time, which it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't like
the
this.
only ship that is starting to slowly catch up is the M50. But yeah, the P-52. One of the things that I hate the most is the fact that it's just it's allowed in the open category in Crux Cup. I hate the fact that just because it's not
Yeah.
officially categorized as a racing ship, it's allowed in the open class, and anyone who jumps into the P-52 and that is just miles ahead of everyone else. Because in the open
Yeah,
class,
it
it's
just-
any ship that's not a racing, and Merlin is considered as a fighter. So the fact that it's just allowed there just irks the hell out of me.
It's just like at Snake Pit, it just doesn't grip unless you're really going like crazy pushing speed. But then even then, you have to like the lines to take in order to make the turns are so tight. There's no room for any kind of error, even in the slightest.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
think
like
the interesting difference between it and I mean, aside from the point it's a snub, but the M50 tries to fight you when you try to like roll and do other maneuvers and stuff. It like will throw you off balance and stuff. While instead the P-52 kind of
Bites.
it tries to stop instead of fighting you like by throwing you off your line. If you it's like kind of sluggish if you're not boosting. Like the roll it has like a lot of what do you call it? Just like it'll continue after you stop roll inputs. It'll keep rolling a little bit.
Yeah.
A lot more than ships like the Raze, the M50. A ton more than ships like the Gladius, where it just has super precise roll inputs. But yeah, for some reason the P-52, when you roll, you kind of have to time it perfectly when you release your roll, or you have to use boost so that it corrects itself quicker. And I always remember that being kind of one of the challenging things in that ship back when it was not a snub, or before snubs were had
Even
full
the
nav
down
with
pitch
those.
is really tricky on it. If you try to down pitch with it, it just kind of keeps going down. Like
Yeah,
I think my
it's
biggest
can down pitch, but you have to catch it before it kind of like there's a threshold where if you start down pushing at some point it just does this. It just
my biggest
completely throws
issue
it
with
off.
this stupid thing is that like all the other ships have comparables of ships that fly similar to it, or they have characteristics that you can like that share between each other. But the P-52 doesn't. The P-52 flies differently than anything else. It's its own ship. It like grips differently than I don't know. It just I don't like it. I hate
Honestly,
flying.
I think somewhere in the middle of A seems.
I think where
good
it is,
to
it's
me.
where it deserves to be. To be completely honest, it again, it's not S tier because it's a snub. Because otherwise, it's just so unbelievably fast. The acceleration alone on this ship makes it a top tier racing ship. But
Yeah.
the fact that it's a snub, just everyone hates it because of that, and it's completely
If this was a
understandable.
list based on if this was a list based on how much I like to fly it, it might be at the very bottom.
Oh yeah,
It might be
100%.
below Fury LS.
This is a
pretty
list
low.
on like within the racing scene.
Yeah.
How do we categorize our ships based on performance, based on feel, based on accessibility, and based on like how well can each ship be taken to all different kinds of scenarios? Because even in 0G, right? 0G,
This thing sucks in
the
0G, doesn't it?
P-52 struggles a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
P-52 needs atmosphere to maneuver. Because
If we weight the 0G a little bit more, it might
are
drop
garbage.
further.
It has
Yeah.
garbage mavs. It's just mains and just straight line. Like this is what the Herald should feel like.
Yeah. Kind of, yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
All right, and we are down
All
to
right,
our
we
last
pissed off
ship,
the
and
time trialers.
yeah, we
Pissed
pissed
the
off
time
the time
trialers
trial, but
enough.
I think it's a respectable spot. Also, we're coming up close to 2 hours on this podcast, so let's wrap this
Yeah.
up with the Avenger Titan. This is a really loved ship, especially in the open class. I do believe this is actually the fastest, aside from the Merlin. This is probably the fastest non-racing ship in the game.
Is it really?
I believe so. Yeah, when
Pretty
we were
close,
doing the
pretty
open class, uh, basically nothing beat the Titan. It's actually super fast. It flies beautifully. I would put this at the top of the B tier. I think this is literally the best of the rest kind of ship in here. I think it's even
I
faster
don't.
than the
Yeah.
Aurora and the Gladius. It doesn't handle as well as those two. Like if you were to talk about Aero model, it doesn't handle as well. It's still kind of heavy.
Yeah.
But speed wise and response wise, it's really, really good. It takes a little bit more to handle than the Aurora and the Gladius. They bite super well, but I do think that it deserves the best of the rest spot in high B. My personal take. I don't know how long you guys has been since you've raced the Titan, but I raced it in February, I think it was, where we had the Open GP, and honestly, it even could take the fight to the P52 across multiple laps.
Yeah, I've never actually flown it, so to be honest with you, I've never flown. Well, I've flown it, but I haven't like put any significant time in. So, but I could see it from what I've heard about it. I think it's a good spot, top of B.
Yeah, I've flown it a bit back when stuff kind of earlier in sort of the cycle of flight model changes and stuff, and it I didn't think it was super fun to fly, but it's definitely quick. I mean, it makes up a lot of its speed in the straights. I thought the turns, it feels quite sluggish in turns, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Unless it's changed recently, because it has been a while since I flew it. But I remember being quite a boat in the
Yeah.
turns, but then in the straights, it makes up all of the time it lost in the
Oh,
turns
yeah.
because it's very fast in the straights for a non-racing ship.
I mean, it pitches well, but it's really slow. It's kind of like has a 350R kind of model where you can pitch, but it's not snappy whatsoever. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's not like the Aero or the Peregrine where if you try to pitch, the TVI will just keep going where you were going. It's slow, but it still grips.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
I think
there
the
we go.
closest
Herbie said use it in the open as well. Was fun though the P whatever it is snob dusted us. Yeah, I mean
52 probably,
the
yeah.
P52 is just again it does not deserve to be in the open GP.
It's just so dumb.
Just because it doesn't have the racing tag on it doesn't mean that it deserves to just dust everything else. If you were to remove
Yeah.
the P52 from that list, again, I think the Titan is actually the best of the rest in that category. So I think that's why it deserves a spot on this list and it deserves high B tier. My personal opinion.
Cool. I like the list. I think we did pretty good.
All right, what do you think, Bill Boy? You happy with that?
Yeah, I think so.
Can't wait
Awesome.
to read all the rage comments on YouTube of people telling us how
Yeah,
stupid.
Yeah,
I mean,
let's
like
go.
this list is definitely based like 50% on vibes and 50% on
Yeah, there's a
on,
mix of
on the
everything.
actual performance of these ships. Because yeah, this would be a very
Vibes,
very
yeah.
different list if we just. I mean, it wouldn't be any fun though if we did that way.
Yeah,
But
I mean, if
obviously,
you
like
just
there's a
put
lot of ships on
performance-
here that are much faster than their rankings are showing. But a lot of it's based. I mean, some of these ships just fly so incredibly well or so incredibly bad that it outweighs the performance that they actually give you based on lap time. And a lot of the times when you're racing, it ends up being head to head against the exact same ship. So
Yeah.
really, pace sometimes doesn't matter when it comes to just pure. Is it fun to race against other ships of the same class? And I think that that's why a lot of these, some of them are way up high and some of them are way down low, even if they are kind of fast or even if they're kind of slow.
Yeah, I was
I've
gonna
had
say
we've had a
that
few
is
people come
actually
into
perfect. Sorry,
yeah,
Darren, go
we've
ahead.
had a few people come into XGR and ask about like what's the best racing ship, and I think this would be a good tier list to reference to them right now in the
Mhm.
current tunings. But like they always ask what's the best racing ship, and it's like that's a
It's a
loaded
big
question,
question.
man. Yeah, there's no such thing as the best racing ship. Even though the M15 Razor, we put them in S tier and we love them to death. Like even then, it's like, are they the best? Actually, theoretically,
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know.
there's the best
There's
time
only-
trial ship, but there is no best racing ship because at the end of the day,
Exactly.
racing is about take whatever car. I mean, it's not. You can say karting is a really popular thing and it's a really high competitive sport, right? But you're not gonna take a kart to race against a Formula One car, right? It has its own class. So if you
Yeah,
were
it's
to
not
look
even
at
at the
it,
top
its
of the
own
list,
class,
but yeah, if I were to pick one ship to race in against other people, it'd be the Gladius actually, and it's not even at the top of the list.
But it's really, really, really slow. But it's so up, it's
Yeah.
it's up so high because it's so much fun.
It
That's why it's
feels
an A
good.
tier.
You don't
Yeah.
feel out of control at any point when you're flying the Gladius.
I mean, the
That slow.
Gladius is probably lap, like pace wise per lap. The Gladius is probably one of the slowest ships on this list.
Yeah.
It might only beat the Aurora on this entire list.
Maybe
or
the
the Herald.
Mm,
Maybe the Intrepid.
I don't even think
Yeah.
it beats the Aurora, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'll
That's
be
But it's
honest.
just so fun to fly. It's just so fun to fly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so much
anyway.
fun.
Yeah. Right, so that has been our 4.1.1 tier list. If there's going to be any changes in the arrow coming into 4.2 and beyond, we will definitely be revisiting this. But this is something that I've been wanting to do forever, and we kind of hit two birds with one stone by doing this in the podcast as well. I will be clipping this section separately because this podcast is coming up to 2 hours, so I will be taking this part and putting a separate video specifically for the tier list. So if you're watching the podcast, you get
Did
that.
we do that for?
Otherwise, sorry.
Did we do that for a whole hour?
I
We
think,
spent a
yeah, I
whole
think we
hour
did
on
like
that.
50 minutes of this, if not more. Yeah, I think actually we did like an hour and a half talking about this. So yeah, this was an extensive
crazy.
discussion about our thoughts into the ships that we use in racing regularly. There's a couple of more, like
Yeah.
there's the Argo MPUV that are used for like the cargo races and stuff like that. So there's the heavy class, which we never even talked about, which has the mole and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a bunch of ships, but these are like the most common ones that are talked about in the racing community. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below if you're watching over on YouTube. And
Subscribe to Jack It In.
yeah,
Do
subscribe, man. More racing tier lists coming, and hopefully next time we'll try to do them a little bit more
It-
concise. This is
If
the
you're
first
in
one that
part
we've done.
25, if you're in part 25 of 50 on his TikTok post where he clipped it up into individual posts, make sure you follow.
Yeah, we'll see if I have to clip these, but yeah. Over on YouTube, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one, I guess. All right. Part of that massive segment on the podcast is done. Shall we move on to talking about what's coming up next in the racing scene?
Yeah, let's bomb through it.
Let's bomb through it real quick. I'm also
give everyone
saving
like a minute
this-
on each thing.
Yeah, I'm saving this image and I will be posting it on the XGR page as well, so everybody can
Good call.
see that list and reference it if they have to. Right. So things that are coming up in racing for news. So we have the Anti-Gravity Racing League that is coming up in very soon. Actually, I think the track day starts in June 15th. So that is literally next week. So next
1
week you
week.
have the track day. So if you're interested in doing gravity racing, look up antiracing.com or join their Discord. They do. They're hosting the Anti-Gravity Racing League. I said that like 4 times already, which is the Grav Racing Series. 15th June will be the track day. So basically just go there and just get a feel for it. If you like it, you can qualify. If you don't like it, you don't have to. If you do want to qualify, qualifying ends on the 22nd of June. And when I say ends, it's because you have to do a qualifier on scr.gg at the Spectra Ocean Dream Circuit, and then show up to the qualifying race on the day. So it's basically going to be like a 2-tiered qualifying. So if you put a run up into scr.gg, that puts you into like the first tier of qualifying. And if you show up to the track day as well, that kind of bumps you up, right? So if you do both things, you'd be listed in the top whatever. And if you only do one of those things, you're basically overflow. So that's how it's going to be working. It's basically just to add incentive to like set a good time on the day as well, right? So that's how it's going to be. And then as we had in the SRL, there will be 3 classes. Aster, which is the combat, that's going to be on June 29th. Visor, which is the amateur class, going to be on July 6th. And the Icarus, which is the pro series, is going to be on July 13th. That is what's coming up from ANSIA. Coming up on XGR, we don't have anything coming up. No, wait, on July. Damn it, I lost the date.
Yeah, we have the
Starter
Showdown.
Ship Showdown that's coming in July 6th. Yeah, July 6th.
Yeah, if anyone's new to racing, definitely join this. By the way, the XGR ANSIA Discord should be linked in the description, right, Jacqueline?
Yes, they will definitely be linked in the description of the video.
And Atmo Esports, I guess, too. But if you're new to racing, join this. If you are looking to do a race, if you're interested in doing actual races, this is a perfect one to get into. Join the Aurora class. It'll be great to fly. It's at the Skyscraper. I always tell, especially when we get new races on our team, I push them to join races as soon as possible. Even if you think that you're not going to compete, just do it, because it's the experience you get on the grid is like nothing else. And this should be a great time. Red Wolfwood always does a great job hosting these every year. So looking forward to watching it. I'm not racing this one, but I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to watching it.
I'm actually going to be running commentary for this race, so looking forward to that. I think this is going to be the second time I run commentary. The first one being this year's Gladiator, actually. So looking forward to that. Yeah, if you're interested at all, join XGR's Discord and sign up for the event. There's the sign up in the link of the event itself. It'll be on July 6th, and it'll be at Skyscraper, and you can choose one of 3 ships to fly. You can either choose the Aurora, the Cutter, or the 100i. Funnily enough, neither the Cutter nor the 100i have been added on this list because I think the only time they get raced is in this event.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
literally the only time they ever get raced because they don't really feel that great to fly. The Aurora, on the other hand, fantastic ship to fly, probably going to be the most popular class. on
That poor
this
100i
list.
man. It was actually so much fun to fly in previous patches, and
Yeah.
then it's just got shafted.
I
But
believe
anyways,
actually in last year's one, it was the fastest ship too. So yeah,
yeah, it was fun.
just it doesn't fly well at all right now. So that's there's no point in talking about it. It's just a crap ship at the moment. Unfortunate. See, it's an
But yeah,
Origin
if you
ship.
do,
I can talk crap about Origin.
if you do pick any of those ships, you only race. If you're on a 100i, you're only racing against the other 100i's. Every ship will be on the track, but
Yeah.
you're not competing with like the Auroras and the Cutters. You're competing
yeah.
in your own class. So it's like a multi-class race, kind of like, Le Mans and stuff. It'll be cool.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, you're not competing against other ships. Again, we talked about this during the tier list. Just because the ships don't compare to each other doesn't mean you can't race them against ships of the same class, right? So they're on the track at the same time, but that's just to add an element of the faster ships have to overtake the slower ships and etc. etc. It just adds more chaos on the track, and it's skyscraper, so there's gonna be chaos anyway. Anyways, last but not least, Gravity Rush is coming up. This is a race, the first time that Atmo are going to be running this kind of event. This is basically going to be Atmo's introduction to the ship racing scene because basically during SitCon last year, they did the Enter Atmosphere, which is kind of like an exhibition or an invitational, like this is what we can do. And now they're going to try and push it a step further. So the Gravity Rush qualifiers, I forgot when did they close? I forgot when the qualifiers
They
16th.
close. 16th?
close.
Okay, so next week. Okay.
Yeah, August. Is it this next week?
Yeah, it's next week.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my god.
June 16th, next week is where the qualifiers close. To qualify, you just
I
have
need
to
to-
submit a time to Old Vanderval, an arena commander. In any ship that you choose, well, a racing ship, but whatever ship that you qualify with is the ship that you will be racing. So don't just pick the fastest ship on the track. Pick the ship that you're confident in racing with. So the way they're going to work is that they're going to be split into 3 groups. There will be, well, you can see it in the rule book if you go to gravityrush.gg. You can find the rule book there. There will be in 3 groups, different track and different track combinations between the 3 rounds. Group 2 will be strictly Auroras. Once again, Aurora, very, very popular in the racing community. So round 2 will be strictly Auroras in those 3 tracks. And then once again, semifinals and finals, you get your ship of choice. Actually, I believe the finals is to be determined ship. Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't closed yet.
Amazing prizes on this one. So highly recommend trying it just for the
Sticks.
prizes. The prizes, if I just show you right here, these are the prizes for the top 3 spots. So aside
Yeah,
from
they're
the
pretty
ship,
swag.
first place gets an amazing trophy. Look at that. It's absolutely gorgeous. Physical medal for first, second, third place. Apparel, so t-shirts and a jacket. You get a racing suit pack, which is pretty cool as well. But you get sticks and mounts. So you get 2 sticks. So you get a full HOSA setup, sticks and mounts from Monster Tech. Insane. And also, if you see that right there at the bottom, you get a ticket for their next LAN event. Now, I believe, I stand to be corrected, but I believe this also includes flights and accommodations. Not 100% sure about that, but for at the bare minimum, it gives you entry to their next LAN event, or I guess you could say their first LAN event for ship racing, where you would actually
exactly.
go
You
compete
competed in the first
on
one.
the stage. Yeah, I mean, I competed in the invitational, not the actual competition. I was invited to go race on stage. I didn't qualify to go race on stage. This would be qualification, right? So this would earn you a spot on that stage. So very, very cool. If they keep doing this and iterating on this every year, this could seriously become one of the great like physical racing esports of Star Citizen. Like to have these physical events, awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look
That'd be
forward to
cool.
see how they do it because this is going to be the first time that they run it in this format. So be interesting to
Yeah.
see and how they build on it in future events. But yeah, I think that's all that's coming up in terms of, is that one stick? No, it's two. So you get two VKB Gladiator NXTs and the desk mounts as well. So you
Yeah.
get two sticks, two desk mounts. So that's like what, 7, 8, 900 euros worth of equipment just right there. Yeah, holy shit
Kinda
is
crazy.
right. Make sure to visit gravityrush.gg, look up at their rulebook, set a qualifying time in Old van der Vollen Arena Commander before the 16th of June, and just try your best. You know, like, again, we said this a million times over throughout our pods and even today. If you can manage to do it consistent times, that generally will be safe enough to land a good position. Sometimes you get lucky, the people ahead of you all crash and you end up taking the win because you're just the last man standing with like 20 seconds slower lap time. But that's racing, you know? Things can happen.
I do have a quick shout out for another event that's coming up. Northfield is doing their Pinewood Derby that they do
Yes.
every year. This is their 4th annual one. That's on June 22nd. Sunday, June 22nd. So I would recommend, if you like ground racing, checking that out. They do the Pinewood Derby. That's fun. I also know of another little racing event happening with the CyberFox RP, SaberFox RP, the streamer. He's doing a death race on July 12th, Saturday, July 12th. So there's a bunch of like little things coming up, and if some of that stuff might interest you, check it out. You can DM me, Dirk, on Discord if you want to try to get details for any of those, because they're all over on different Discords, and it's kind of hard to put it all in one place. But I'll be happy to direct you.
Yeah, I will take all of this information and put it on the description down and or on the YouTube video. Obviously, a lot of the stuff is happening within the next few days or weeks, so you gotta
Yeah.
see it when the video comes out to catch it. But yeah, we'll definitely keep running updates. I am personally going to be running an analyst role in the Gravity Rush race, so I'm not unfortunately participating in it because I can't make it for round 1 and round 3. So obviously, there's no way I'm gonna qualify for the semi, so no point. But they did invite me to take the analyst role for rounds 2, the semifinals, and the finals. So I'm really looking forward to that, seeing all these races and being able to give my opinions. You know, I can go on forever talking about racing, as you all know. So
Yep,
it
and I am
fits
signed
in.
up for Gravity Rush.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, sadly I can't make it. Sadly.
Yeah.
You got anyone from
If you're
Blackstar
really
taking part?
if you're really fast, don't do it.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone from Blackstar was going to do it. It's such a big time commitment. I'm not sure. I don't think anyone sounded like they were immediately available or interested. So we'll see what they end up doing. But
To be fair,
for
talking
now,
about the time
I'm
commitment, it's actually not going to be that bad on the racers themselves. The stream itself is going to be run for across like at least 5 hours because there's so many races to go through. But the racers themselves will be given like a 45-minute time slot where they just basically go through their 3 races, and then they can go while the next group in comes in. Because there's so many people that could potentially sign up that the groups have to be split into like groups of 6, I believe. So the more groups there are, the quicker you kind of have to go through the races, and there's 3 laps on Arena Commander. So the time commitment from the racer themselves won't be more than, let's say, on a bad day. Let's say on a bad day, you won't have more than 2 hours sitting there. And I'm saying
right.
that's
For
on
me,
a
it's
bad
for
day.
me, it's more the consistency of there being a race every other weekend for like 2 months straight.
Yeah,
And then
fair enough.
It's not
and,
grab bikes, Nikon, it's ships. Sorry.
yeah, and I just don't have don't have that much that many free weekends in the summer. So
Fair
it just
enough.
doesn't work out for me. But yep.
Okay, so
Yeah.
just clarifying for the chat, as we have some people who joined in later. So the Gravity Rush is a ship race. So you basically choose the ship that you want to qualify in, set a time on Old Van der Waal, and that ship will carry you over into the race. So whatever ship you chose, that's the ship you're going to be racing with. And then if you want to get into grav bikes, there's the Anti-Gravity Racing League that's by Ansia. So I put both links in the chat on Twitch. I will leave both links in the description on YouTube as well. So gravityrush.gg for the ship race coming up, and Anti-Gravity Racing League is at ansiaracing.com. So
Yeah.
that's all I have to
Fun
say,
times.
honestly, guys. I am exhausted with talking. I talked so much today. I am so sorry. I hope my voice is not annoying to you guys.
Not at all.
Hell yeah, boys. It's going to be good. I'm excited. Lots of stuff. Long stream, long pod. Thanks everyone for
the-
watching.
2
Appreciate
hours
it,
and 10
everybody.
minutes running the squad right now. 2 hours and 5 minutes actually because I've had a 5-minute intro. So yeah,
This is our longest one so far. It's gotta be close.
I think the Kelsar one was the longest one. This is cutting it close though. That
Forever.
one. Yeah. But anyways, let's not drag this
Professional
too long.
yaps.
I think that's all we pretty much had to say for this episode. Our next episode is, if we're gonna be doing this every 2 weeks, which is what we originally did, I will not be around for the next episode. So the next episode will be run by Derek and Billboy, if you guys are around. If not, we will post on XGR's Discord when we're actually going to be running it, right? So worry not.
Yeah,
Make
it's
sure
summer,
that
so it's a
you're
little
in.
tough, man.
Yeah,
It's been tough for all of us.
June is a rough month for me, so it's good that we managed to get
Yeah.
this done today. So, yep. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. This was a really long episode, but thank you so much for being here and for giving all your inputs. It was really nice having you guys interact with how we feel with the tier list. That was really fun. You guys got any closing words before we head off, guys?
Go fast.
I think so.
All right, fantastic. Okay, so make sure you guys sign up for the races. We need more people joining. We want to get these grids as stacked as possible. So make sure you sign up for as much as you can. Obviously, I'm asking for a lot here, but just sign up to whatever you can. Get involved, get into it. Once you get the bug, you just can't stop. Anyways, thank you guys so much. We will catch you in the next pod.